Congratulations, you have found us. We have found you. Let's hug it out and talk sports for the next 4 hours, can we? Welcome to Wire to Wire. My name is Diesel. He is Cole Bryson. This is the Fan Upstate. You know what you're supposed to do? Toe low, turn it on, and leave it on. Those of you who are already listening, awesome. Stay with us all the way until 7 o'clock. But Cole, to start the show, what result would force you and I to admit that we're wrong about Dabo Swinney and the transfer portal? What result would force us to admit that we're wrong about Shane Beamer probably not being the guy in South Carolina? And what would force us to change our mind about Brad Brownell? Yeesh. We're going to get into it for the next 15 minutes here on the show. South Carolina's basketball coaches, y'all are safe. We're not going to talk about you, okay? Y'all are doing great. Lamont Paris, you're doing great. Don Staley, you're doing great.
This topic has no shot of being controversial, right?
No, we wouldn't do that. We wouldn't start the show with controversy. Cole, you and I have both been extremely critical of Dabo Swinney and his transfer portal policy, which is not going to do it.
Sure.
Dabo says, not going to do it. I'm going to protect all the high school kids who are coming in. I'm never going to displace a single one of them, even if there's somebody who's better, who can help me win games. I'm going to hold up my end of the bargain. I'm going to make sure that his parents never have to hold the kid in their arms and let him cry it out about, I got beat out by a better player. You and I have been very critical of that. We've watched teams who use the transfer portal to great success finish higher than Clemson last year. What did they finish? 24th? Was that right? Didn't they finish just barely inside the top 25 last year? There's an awful lot of teams who are using the portal to great success, some of whom use the portal way too much. I admit that. There are teams who finished in ahead of Clemson last year who used the portal way too much. But the question is, Cole, what'll actually make us change our minds and admit that we're wrong about this? Because, I mean, we are nothing if not reasonable men. We can change our minds. We can get new information and adjust our thought process on Dabo Swinney and the transfer portal. So that's the question I want to ask you. And then I want to ask the Tolos as well. Those of you who are listening on the air, 71307, start your text with keyword fan. Those of you watching on the stream on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, drop a comment. Let us know. First of all, tell us, what is your opinion of Dabo Swinney and the transfer portal? What is your opinion of the job Shane Beamer is doing in South Carolina? And then tell us what result will change your mind.
I like it. I like it a lot. So we're starting with Dabo, right?
We're going to start with Dabo, yeah. Cole, I look at a couple different things, and believe it or not, I start off the field.
Okay.
I start off the field. Results are a result of the things that you do off the field. Wins and losses are a result of the things that you do off the field. All of these things make you better as a team. And then if all of those things work out well and you have a little bit of luck, guess what? You can put yourself in a position to find a lot of success. So, Cole, for me, number one, we'll do this like a little ladder style. I'll do one, you'll do one. I'll do one, you'll do one. First thing Clemson has to do, Cole, is they got to hold the line on this 2025 recruiting class that they've got coming in. So they got several four-star recruits visiting Clemson this weekend. They got to hold the line with those guys. They got to get a couple of them to commit. They got to hold the line with the 11 commits who were already signed up for the 2025 class. There's 16 more prospects waiting in the wings. 0 5-stars. That should be concerning for Clemson fans. But they got 9 4-stars and 3 2-stars. 2 3-stars who are already committed for the 2025 class. It's good enough for the number 6 recruiting class. Way early. I get it. Way early. Number 6 recruiting class in the country for 2025 for Dabo Swinney. Hold the line. That's all you got to do. You got to prove to me that the Clemson offer still holds weight narrative actually still holds weight. And you can't lose more than 1 or 2 of those guys to NIL offers because they're going to get them.
So this to me is very simple. I hear you on the off the field stuff, but I'm not getting as caught up in the off the field stuff when it comes to Dabo and what would have to happen to change my mind. I am very aware that the college football playoff has expanded, as we all know, Diesel, but it's very, very simple for me. Obviously, I know you're right. In order to get to success, you have to have the top recruiting class, right? You do have to use the portal. I get all that. I hear you. But I'll tell you this. While the playoff has changed, the only thing that can prove to me that Dabo can still compete in this era of college football, if I have to be proven wrong, it is Dabo and Clemson Diesel being one of the Final Four teams at the end of the year.
Final Four?
Yes.
Wow.
The playoff or bust, the Dabo, Sweeney, and Clemson, just like Kalen DeBoer in Alabama, should be in the playoff every single season.
They got to get in and win a game.
They've got to get in, win a game, be one of the Final Four in order for me to understand and listen. In order for me, I used the wrong word, understand. In order for me to buy stock once again in Dabo Sweeney. And then I believe that a lot of Clemson fans will be right back to where they were when Clemson's dynasty was in the thick of things, Diesel. I say it's Final Four or bust for Clemson and Dabo Sweeney.
Well, that is a very, very simplified answer. Cole, segment over, right?
Yeah, it is.
You got to get into the playoff you got to win games. But I'm breaking this thing down to a more meta level, right? All the things that you have to be able to do. I mean, we're talking about our opinion of him not using the transfer portal, and that's going to hurt him, right? So, again, I go back to number one, hold the line. You can't let more than one or two of these guys that you already have. 11 commits for the 2025 year. 9 of them are 4 stars. You can't let more than one or two of those guys get away, especially if it's due to NIL offers.
Sure.
Number 2, you got to commit a 5-star at any position. Doesn't matter what position, you need to commit at least one 5-star. Prove to me that you can commit the best of the best with your system.
Yeah.
Prove to me that you can get one of the elite guys at their position. Skill position would help out an awful lot, right? A wide receiver, a tight end, somebody like that, a quarterback. If you could get a 5-star quarterback in this cycle, that would help out an awful lot. But he's not getting any of the 5-star guys anymore. So prove to me that you can still get one of those guys.
I hear you on that. And again, I'm not pushing back on anything you're saying. I'm just telling you that, like, I've had enough of listen, let's back up. Let's pull the curtain back, Diesel. For those that don't know, I grew up a Clemson fan. I am a Clemson fan, right? I've heard enough of we had great recruiting classes. I've heard enough of we got 5 stars. I've heard enough of the ACC championship, 11 wins. I've heard enough of that, I've heard that over and over and over. And Clemson fans, if you don't agree with me, all I'll tell you is you should expect better. You should expect consistency. And I think that I agree with you that I want to see them get 5 stars. I'll tell you what I want to do. And if I have to give a second tier, as you said, on your second, I want to see Dabo hit on what Dabo used to hit on. Quarterback, assistant coaches. Guess what? The last few years, Dabo hasn't hit on those two.
Miss on quarterbacks over the past. Miss. If you go Kelly Bryant, DJU, and then Cade Klubnik. He's had 3 misses in a row.
He has.
That we believe. We still don't know about Cade. We're pretty sure about Cade, but we don't know. He could change our minds as well.
Who was your first miss?
My first miss was Kelly Bryant.
So I would even go a step further and say the defensive coordinator, I think, is okay. Mm-hmm. Clemson's got a good defense. He's in limbo, Diesel, of missing on 2 more. I mean, if I like Wes, but if Garrett Riley doesn't pan out and Klubnik doesn't pan out, I mean, he's all of a sudden missing a lot more, and that's not good.
I'm glad that you brought that up because I did want to get to Garrett Riley. That was one of the things that Dabo can do to prove to me that he's not washed up, that can change my mind, my internal narrative. Last thing I had on recruiting, Cole, was that they got to get a 4-star or better at wide receiver because they've only got 1 3-star wide receiver committed for the 2025 class. Mm-hmm. That's Carlton Preston out of Virginia. You got to get a 4-star or better wide receiver. Clemson used to be wide receiver U. And what are the 2 hardest positions to recruit without throwing big-time NIL money out there? It's quarterback and wide receiver. That's the 2 biggest sets of divas on a roster, quarterbacks and wide receivers. You got to show me that you can get one of those guys, that your pitch can still get one of those guys without NIL money to boot.
You're exactly right. I'll say this on that note real quick before we move on. We talk a lot about Dabo and the transfer portal, right? You and I do, the media does, the local, national media, and it's fine. It's warranted. However, while that's true, there's always more to the story, Diesel, and the more to the story there is, yes, Dabo's not using the portal like he should be, in my opinion. However, the more to the story goes to Dabo's not recruiting and hitting on those wide receivers and quarterbacks like he was.
Yeah, and to the point you made there about Garrett Riley's, I have to see Garrett Riley work out. Like, his performance at this point reflects on himself, and it reflects on Dabo. Dabo's always been a CEO type of coach who was one of the best at putting great staff around him and then keeping great staff around for a long time. So Dabo's got to show me that he didn't make a mistake on Garrett Riley. I mean, he was that hot name coming out of TCU, and we were losing our minds. Oh, my God, he got Garrett Riley. How great is this? He's going to revolutionize Clemson's offense. And, well, he hasn't. And part of that is quarterback play. Part of it is wide receiver play. All of it goes together, right? Garrett, I'm not saying that he forgot how to coach, but he maybe doesn't have all the right pieces that he needs to implement the system that he wants to implement. It always takes time when you go through a coaching change like that. But at this point, Cole, if Dabo misses on Garrett Riley, then he will have missed on multiple offensive coordinators in a row. So he's missing on quarterbacks, he's missing on wide receivers, and he's missing on OCs if Garrett Riley can't get it together.
Real quick, JD says Dabo can definitely make something of his recruiting classes. It's all about development. And if they have another mediocre year, fans will get itchy. Ricky says, Cole, you were a good one until you said you were a Clemson fan. Come over to the dark side. LOL, says Ricky.
I asked Ricky, did he ever figure out which color garnet is the right color garnet? Because that's something even South Carolina struggles with.
What did Ricky do to you, Diesel? What did Ricky do to you, man?
He's coming after you, man. I got to protect you. I got to protect you. But, you know, Cole, it all boils down to wins on the field, right? So, results, when those come in, I got to see an ACC championship.
Sure.
I got to see a minimum a CFP berth. That's getting yourself to finishing back in the top 12, 11, 10, something like that. Having yourself in that conversation is, if you can't do that, if you fall outside of the top 12, you're not making a 12 team college football playoff. They just made it easier for you to get in. If you're telling me, and what would have to happen for that? Florida State surpasses you. Florida State beats your ass. Florida State beats your brains in. Florida State wins the ACC championship with a class full of transfers.
Sure.
That would tell me right then and there that it just ain't working anymore, Dabo. Moving down I-26 towards Columbia, Cole, what do we need to see to change our minds about Shane Beamer? I'm in that camp that says Shane Beamer might not be the right guy to get done.
Might not
down
be.
There in Columbia. Yeah, I mean, he's struggled. This is a critical season for Shane Beamer. It's his fourth season. He's 20-18. I know you Gamecock fans, you're stretching your thumbs out right now, ready to type in angrily. Will Muschamp was 22-17 in his first three seasons. Shane Beamer's 20-18. So Will Muschamp, through 3 years, cupboard was left really bare after Spurrier took off, right? Will Muschamp was a better coach. He had a better win and loss record.
So here's the issue with this topic for me, and I'll be candid. The issue is the question that you're asking me, what's going to happen to change my mind? Well, I'm very on the stance, Diesel, of Beamer's not the guy.
Can't be changed. Wow.
Listen, I'll always say, like, listen, if he does this, obviously I change my mind, right? Yeah. And for guys like Ricky and JD who are South Carolina fans in the stream, I'll be very candid with them and say, look, do I think Beamer's the guy? No. Could my mind change? Sure, right? You and I are entitled to change our opinion, but I want to hear your first one.
Yeah, so to rock with the same format that we had there with Dabo Swinney, number one, you got to get your 2025 recruiting class back up. They are number 39 in the country right now, Cole. Yeah. I know that it's very, very early. Signing day is not till December. We are months away at this point.
Yeah.
But in 2023, South Carolina had the number 16 class. In 2024, they had the 22nd ranked class. And so far, for the 2025 class, they have the 39th ranked class. A lot can change. One good recruit can really bump you up a handful of spots. And so we may see Shane Beamer in South Carolina recover a little bit and move back up into that the lower end of the 30s or even in the high 20s where they want to be and need to be to win in the SEC, Cole. But they got to get that recruiting class back up. They got to get it in place. They got to stop the flow of so many outgoing transfers. I mean, South Carolina is becoming a feeder school. Don't let that happen. You got to keep that recruiting success going. These big 4- and 5-star guys that Shane Beamer was able to sign last year that everybody felt really good about it. And the year before, everybody felt great. He was inching up into that blue chip ratio for 2 years in a row. And 39. I mean, that number speaks for itself. 39. Everybody's out there recruiting. Everybody is ranked. So the number is what the number is as long as it is what it is, right?
Okay. So my first one, Diesel, for Shane Beamer. If I'm going to change my stance, and by the way, Ricky on the stream says Beamer's not the guy. So that's a good comment, good opinion from a South Carolina fan. Diesel, I'll tell you what I think that Beamer needs to do first. We all know that recruiting goes into winning, as I said with Dabo. We all know that you have to have weapons, right? You have to have a good O-line, as Spurrier did when he was at South Carolina. You have to have good defense, a good defensive line, good receivers. However, big word, however, Diesel, I think the first thing that Beamer needs to worry about and that Beamer needs to do, and this may sound a little bit backwards, but in my opinion, Beamer needs to hit on a quarterback before he does anything else. And I'll tell you why. Quarterbacks can cover up a lot of deficiencies.
That is true.
Trevor Lawrence at Clemson covered up a lot of deficiencies. Was he amazing? Yes. Was DW4 amazing? Yes. But when you have elite quarterbacks, and I know elite quarterbacks do not grow on trees, but I think the first step for Beamer is to keep his job. He's got to hit on his play caller.
That's very true. And to bring things onto the field now where success is concerned, Cole, you got to win all the games that you're supposed to win. Old Dominion, Akron, Wofford, Vandy, that's 4 wins right there. You have to win all 4 of those games. You cannot mess around and lose to one of those teams or struggle with those teams. You need to be beating their brains in, okay? You got to win one of their 50-50 games, Kentucky and Texas A&M. I know some South Carolina fans are saying that's not fair that you make A&M a 50-50 game. Well, why not? They got a new coach, right? That's a roster in disarray. I understand they got more resources than you, but they're in disarray. They got a new head coach. You're going into year 4 of Shane Beamer. So, yeah, I'm calling that a 50-50 game. You've got to win at least one of those, and then you got to steal 2 wins against the better teams, LSU, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma, Missouri, and Clemson. You got to steal 2 of those, Cole. It's not even that high bar of a standard to set. That's only 6 wins.
Yeah.
That's only 6 wins. If you can't get to 6 wins, Cole, I think it's time to pull the plug and realize Shane Beamer ain't the guy because he's had opportunities to shuffle the deck chairs. He's had opportunities to change out his coordinators and fix things his way. If it's not working, then he's not the guy.
My number 2 is consistency on the coaching staff. In my opinion, Shane Beamer needs to build a consistent staff. He's got some really good ones this year, and Sean Elliott, Mike Furry from Limestone, and we know that Sean Elliott was a former Gamecock. Diesel. South Carolina needs to do what Clemson did. They need to use Dabo's blueprint and putting together a good staff, and not only putting together a good staff, but keeping the staff. Dabo did it with Venables way too long. Tony Elliott, who I thought's a good coordinator, they've got to have some consistency with their assistants.
Sean Elliott is a Mountaineer. He worked at South Carolina.
Well,
I will fight you.
Gamecock, right?
I will fight you on that, Cole.
He coached there.
Yeah, he was a former employee of the university. And last one, Cole, this one's real simple. This one's real easy. Brad Brunell, you got to make the tournament again, and you got to win a game. No more excuses at this point.
So get in and win one.
Get in and win.
I don't have any pushback on that.
It shouldn't be that hard to get in. You're in the friggin' ACC where half the conference gets in.
Well, with the announcement yesterday of Chase Hunter coming back 100%, right?
That's
yeah,
big.
You've got to make it.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. He's got to make the tournament, and you cannot go one and done. So no pushback from me on Brad Brownell. I like it.
I love it, Cole. Thank you for agreeing with me so much.
Sal, let me get to this real quick before break. One comment from Madcraft on the stream that I wanted to get to. Madcraft says, so Nick Saban single-handedly ruined college football because no program in the country should expect to be a Final Four team every year. It's not feasible. He is referring to what I said with Clemson. He clarifies, yes, Clemson, I'm not saying don't have expectations, even high ones, but being a semifinal team yearly in modern college football just isn't reasonable. Only my opinion, of course. Well, Madcraft, you're entitled to your opinion.
Why isn't it Madcraft? Georgia's done it. Michigan has done it. Alabama did it. Clemson did it for a long time. It is very feasible. You got people showing you, got teams showing you each and every year that it's feasible.
I will say this. I hear you in terms of the new college football, it being more difficult. Is it more difficult? Yes. Is it feasible? Yes, it is feasible. You do not go into a year if you're a coach and set an expectation of anything less, Like the old saying, you can't win them all. Well, guess what? I don't like that saying. I think it's a terrible mentality to have.
Win them all. These coaches are making $10 million a year to win them all.
So, Madcraft, I love your opinion. I just don't love that one. I think that being a Final Four team every year absolutely can be a realistic expectation at a school like Clemson.
Well, it's not even Final Four anymore. It's Final 12.
Yep. But getting in is not enough for me. All right, speaking of getting in, the teams that got into the college baseball tournament, we'll get to that next. I and Diesel have a list of some teams to watch, teams to keep your eye on, not necessarily sneaky teams, but teams to watch this weekend in the NCAA tournament. I absolutely love the postseason of college baseball. We always see upsets. I get it. March Madness is the tournament that really moves the meter for everybody, and the nation does not get as caught up in the college baseball tournament as they do in March Madness for basketball, and I get it. But honestly, a lot of that has to do with the format, right? College baseball isn't set up to have this do-or-die format where teams can make these nice Cinderella runs with just winning a game or two. However, there are some teams in this tournament that I will tell you to keep an eye on. I'm not just saying all of the one seeds, and I'm not saying these are sleeper teams, but some of these may be one seeds. Some of these may be two seeds that I think should have been one seeds. So I'll start with Vanderbilt, and then Diesel, I want to hear from you on whether you like it or have a team of your own that you would like to nominate as a team to watch down the stretch this weekend, because the regionals do start tomorrow. So I want to first propose that even though Clemson has had an incredible season, even though that they at times have been number 2 in the country, I love Eric Bakich. The job that he's done in a very short time has been phenomenal. However, I do think Vanderbilt could give Clemson a little bit of an issue, Diesel. I'm not sold on Clemson being an automatic super regional bid, because Vanderbilt, if it comes down to Clemson-Vandy, which I think it will, Vanderbilt could have an edge. Their bats have been really, really hot, and Clemson's pitching staff has been really, really inconsistent. So if you pair hot bats with inconsistent pitching, I think you could see Vanderbilt get out of that regional.
Do you get the feeling that Clemson is maybe a season away from being a legitimate super regional team?
Well, my feeling is I think that when you say season away,
I mean, anybody's a season away.
Yeah,
anybody's a portal class away, right?
I don't hate them being a season away. I just think that for whatever reason, Diesel, their pitching staff has not performed the way that it should have. And I guess to answer your question, it would depend on if they can get some solid arms that they can count on in the bullpen, because the starting rotation with Tristan Smith, I know Tristan Smith's battled injury, and they've had a lot of injuries in the infield and outfield this year. Clemson has, but the bottom line is their bullpen is a major concern for me.
I mean, it's certainly not an automatic that you can get past Vanderbilt. They're still a 38-win baseball team, and we talk about Vandy like they're a team of the past, right? I mean, we remember the Vandy teams from 2023 and 2022. Those who were just running roughshod over everybody. They have a phenomenal record on the season, 38-21, clearly propped up by a lot of out-of-conference play that was a lot easier than what they faced in the SEC, because they went 13-17 in the SEC. Not a great conference record, but, I mean, the litmus test for a really good SEC team is being 500 to 5 to 10 games above 500. If you could get into that, 15-15 to 20-10 range in the SEC, you're a really good baseball team. So it's not a foregone conclusion that Clemson is going to walk out of this region with an easy win. They're going to have a big fight on their hands when they face Vanderbilt.
I don't want to ever be the guy that says the regular season doesn't matter, because that's not what I'm implying here. But I will say this: baseball is a game of who is hot at the right time. And if Vanderbilt gets hot, don't count Vandy out. Don't count their bats out, because they do have bats that can come alive. And if they get hot in this regional and Clemson's bullpen struggles, I do think it's a very good possibility you could see Clemson go one and done and Vandy advance, Diesel. I really do.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I like that. I like that pick a lot. Vandy, in most years would probably be a team that's hosting a regional, but they can't give them all to SEC teams.
Sure.
I look, Cole, at it's easy. Obviously, it's easy to pick the one seeds to advance out of these regions. But I really like Louisiana out of the Texas A&M regional. They played some really tough teams really well this year. Looking through their schedule right now, Cole, they played Vanderbilt tight. They played LSU to a 1-run game. They played Houston tight. That's not saying a ton, because it's Houston and they just moved up into the Big 12. But Louisiana has always been one of those programs that has a lot to do, scores a lot of runs. So I like Louisiana a lot. Again, didn't get a ton of opportunities against the big power schools, and didn't win any of those games. But I do think that they have a chance to maybe upset Texas A&M.
A&M's good, and Louisiana, they're like you said, they have a really good offense, one of the better offenses in that regional. So they definitely could. Again, your pitching's got to hold up, right? I don't care what regional you're in, your pitching has to hold up.
They got to face Texas, though. That's
tough.
That's another tough one. I mean, they've got two big power schools in their region.
Yeah, they don't have a gimme in the first game.
No.
I also tell you, our audience, to keep an eye on Stetson. They're a really interesting team here. So it split a 4-game series against West Virginia. They beat the likes of Florida, UCF, and Florida State in midweek, right? Pretty impressive wins, helped their RPI. Though the Hatters also they did lose to those teams once. So like Florida, UCF, and Florida State, while they did beat them, the Hatters also lost to them one time as well. So they're probably not the team to win it all, in my opinion, Diesel, but don't be surprised if in that regional, in the Stetson regional that they're in, if they come up one game short of the Supers. I say keep an eye on the Hatters.
Cole, I look at a team like Duke coming out of the Norman region as somebody that can do a lot of damage. Duke, another one of those teams that could put up a lot of runs. Clearly, they had a really good season in the ACC, 16-14, 39-18 overall on the year. Didn't play a ton of out-of-conference games. They scheduled fairly easy in the out-of-conference. I mean, I think I'm looking at Indiana as maybe their toughest out-of-conference opponent. I don't want to talk about what happened on March 5th when they played my App State Mountaineers. It was more of a football score than it was a baseball score. But, I mean, they smacked around Campbell, who's always a really good baseball program. I think Duke has a chance to really do something big in that region.
So here's what's interesting about Duke. They're red hot. They won the ACC. A lot of people argued that Duke should be a host, which they have a good argument. However, Clemson had a better regular season. I understand their argument, though, when it comes to being a host, because they did go through the ACC and they did run roughshod. Here's where I have issue with Duke. They're a really good team. They're just in a really, really tough regional, in my opinion. Oklahoma, the 1 seed, they're very, very solid. Oral Roberts, they're no laughingstock. They were last year's 4 seed Cinderella, who went all the way to Omaha and fell short in Omaha.
You telling me Oral's never made you laugh?
No, 1 or 2 times. I just think that while Duke's a good team, in my opinion, that's one of the tougher regionals that Duke has with Oklahoma and Oral Roberts. I really do.
I'm going to give you one, Cole, that I don't see having a lot of success in the regionals, a team that a lot of people really like. I don't think Alabama is going to advance out of the Tallahassee region, man. I'm looking down Alabama's schedule right now, and show me the really, really elite performances out of conference. Yeah, a good in-conference record. Mm-hmm. 13 and 17. It's decent. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's decent. But they didn't play anybody out of conference, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, they beat up on Indiana 12-0, but that was really early in the season in the Frisco Classic. I think Alabama might be one of those fraud teams that kind of gets sent home early.
I like it. Fraud alert. Listen, I'll never have issue with Alabama being sent home early.
Yeah.
I'll never find issue with that.
You could look at Wake Forest as well, coming out of the ECU region. ECU is a really good program, but man, Wake Forest, they got more of a crucible all season long.
That is my last team to watch. Wake Forest, a very fascinating regional, Diesel, that you brought up. In Greenville, an East Carolina team that many argue should have been on the outside looking in from a hosting perspective. They welcome a top 10 RPI team in Wake Forest. And this is the recipe to me for an upset. Wake Forest over ECU. I'm telling you right now, I think it's going to happen. Mark it down. Wake Forest wins the ECU regional in Greenville. I do not know that ECU losing to Wake Forest, in my mind, in a regular season game, Diesel, would be considered an upset. However, because Wake Forest is in ECU's regional, obviously it will be. I like ECU to get walloped by Wake Forest. I like the Demon Deacons to advance. Also, there is a little piece of information that might make matters more challenging for ECU is the potential of their absence or the potential absence of their ace and likely first-round draft pick, Trey Yesavagi. I'm sure I said that name wrong. Yesavagi, however you want to say it. Trey is what the name we're going to go with, Diesel. He last week landed in the hospital with a partially collapsed lung. So if he can't pitch in the regional, everybody in the Pirates pitching staff would move up a spot, and that really bodes well for a Demon Deacons roster that still has some of the nation's best talent despite its disappointing 38-20 record.
Can you explain to me how LSU finished up as the 3 seed in the Chapel Hill Regional? How did that happen?
North Carolina's good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'll tell you that. And then
Who the heck is the 2 seed in that region?
In the Chapel Hill Regional? Let me look. It's a great question. I don't know that I would say that they're deserving of a 1 seed, but they're playing Long Island, UNC, Wofford, and LSU. So those are the 4 teams.
Long Island's the 2 seed?
No, Long Island's the 4.
Long Island's Wofford's the 2.
No, Wofford's the 3. LSU is the 2 seed.
Did I? Okay, maybe I got that wrong. Excuse me. Maybe that's my mistake.
They're the 2. Because when you said that, I was thinking, man, that is wild.
That blew me away when I wrote it down.
So,
but I was wrong.
UNC's the 1, LSU's the 2, okay. Wofford's the 3, and Long Island's the 4. I love this regional because Wofford Terriers out of Spartanburg are in it. But as we said the other day, Diesel, Wofford's got LSU.
God, I wish that can we please get the Furman baseball program back so that this Wofford Furman rivalry can get going again on another field. Please, can we do that? Because we have Wofford fans texting in, just dunking on Furman over and over and over and over again.
As they should, right?
As they should. And Furman ain't doing nothing to bring the program back.
So let me ask you this question. Here's a fun question before we hit a break. We've seen a lot of upsets in college sports. You went to a school, Diesel, in App State that has made themselves famous for some upsets, right? Mm-hmm. Some pretty big ones. Can you think of a bigger upset if Wofford were to beat LSU on Friday?
Oh, that would be great.
Would be
the whole upstate would be buzzing from that.
It would be unbelievable. So Wofford beats LSU.
We need to find the full schedule of games and figure out like who's going to be playing before we get on the air.
Yeah.
Who's going to be playing while we're on the air. Because I am fascinated to be
we'll do nothing
giving away these scores all game.
Yeah, we're going to do nothing tomorrow except for give away scores. So real quick, we have games starting at noon tomorrow, Diesel. Western Michigan versus Kentucky.
Yep.
Stetson, Florida State. Penn, Virginia. Wofford, LSU at noon. Also at noon, Coastal Carolina, Vandy.
That means that Wofford LSU game is going to be coming down the stretch, late innings by the time we come on the air.
Hopefully it is.
Yeah,
hopefully it's not.
If it's not, then we may be somewhere in the 4th. Can they run rule a team in the postseason?
I do not think so.
Okay.
2:00, 1 hour before we go on the air, which is perfect because we'll be able to see most of the game.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina, James Madison.
Love it.
And then Clemson is
There's not enough screens in here to be able to watch all these
We can
games.
fix that. I have some screens at home.
Yeah.
High Point Clemson's at 7:00 tomorrow, just so you know. So tomorrow will be very heavy college baseball, as it should. A lot of game following. That's what I was doing last Friday when you were going, by the way. I didn't do a show. I just did play-by-play on a game for 4 hours.
I want to let all you Tolos know that coming up at 4:00, 20 minutes from right now, we will bring on Julian Council, the host of the Locked On Panthers podcast. We're 2 weeks into OTAs. There's some injury issues going on with Xavier Leggett. We're going to bring him on to talk about that and so much more. So if you got questions for Julian regarding the Carolina Panthers, hit us up on the text line 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. Drop your questions into the stream comment section. We would love that as well. When we come back, Cole, let's get to the Daily Wires, the buzz that's happening out there. Get everybody caught up on all the stories happening right here on the Fan Upstate. Just 15 minutes away from our conversation with Julian Council, the Locked On Panthers podcast. Those of you Panthers fans with burning questions of like, can we pull this thing out of the dumpster this year or not? Now would be the time to get them in by texting 71307. Message us on the stream. But Cole, right now it's time for us to catch you up with everything that's going on that might not be a big enough story to spend 15 minutes talking about it. Here's your Daily Wires.
Buzz.
That's right. They don't call him the best colored man in the business for nothing. Alabama's Mark Sears has withdrawn his name from the NBA draft and will return to Alabama.
Alabama.
That's big.
For old Mark Sears?
Yeah.
Wow. You know, that loss of Pringle was a big loss.
Do you think Pringle would have transferred out if he knew that Mark Sears was coming back?
That's a great question. You know, he might have. It might have been something that had to do with the old green, you know, that old dollar bill.
The nil.
It could be. I'm not saying it was, but I'm just saying. I tell you, though, that is big for Alabama because it seems like that's a big place to be. I'm not sure why anyone would leave Alabama, but that's big for Sears and big for Alabama.
Cole, the Oilers and Stars series is tied 2-2 after the Oilers beat the Stars last night 5-2. The Atlanta dropped game 3 of the series with Washington last night 7-3. See, it seems when the Braves are winning, Cole, they're barely winning, and when they're losing, they're really losing.
To me, it seems like they don't have an identity right now.
Game 4 is tonight at 7:20. Ray Kerr on the mound for Atlanta.
Who?
Yeah, exactly. Who? Another call-up, I guess. A body bag. Let's see. Panthers versus Rangers, game 5 tonight at 8 o'clock. That series is also tied 2-2. Man, you got to love the parity in the NHL. You got series at the conference level going to 5, 6, 7 games. You're not seeing sweeps like you see in the NBA. Mavericks versus Timberwolves tonight at 8:30. Dallas is up. Let's see. Dallas is up 1-0. Oh, what do you mean?
What did I
Dallas
say?
leads. You said Dallas leads 1-0.
Let me look.
No, they lead 3-1.
That might have been a old typo.
They 3-1. Yeah. Dallas leads the series 3-1.
What is this? Who's making these daily wires?
That's a great question. I'm Ron Burgundy. I'll read anything on the prompter.
I don't know what it is.
Stewart Haas Racing, which has won 2 Cup titles and captured 69 wins since its formation in 2009, will close after the 2024 season. They are shuttering Cole a 4 Cup car operation.
Wow.
Will those operations then cease to exist, or will they get gobbled up by other teams? Isn't there a rule now that you can only have 4 teams? Is that like a max?
I'm not sure. It'll be a great question for Shane tomorrow. Yeah. I'm intrigued by this.
Definitely want to get into the weeds with Shane on this.
We're seeing more and more charter conversation about charters potentially shutting down. I just did not see this coming from Stewart Haas.
Arkansas forward Miriam Dowda announced her commitment to South Carolina on Wednesday after entering the transfer portal last month. So South Carolina women's basketball has that big gravitational pull, man, that is pulling the best of the best from all over college basketball to Columbia. Per David Hood, Tristan Smith will start for Clemson on Friday as they open up regional play. And sources confirmed to The Athletic that the Georgia Tech game this year is being moved to Black Friday, 7:30 Eastern on ABC. The Egg Bowl is moving to Black Friday at 3:30.
So stupid. Though, I mean, Diesel, one of my favorite traditions of Thanksgiving is being full and feeling like I'm about to bust full of turkey and then sitting down on the couch and watching Ole Miss and Mississippi State every Thanksgiving, man. That is so dumb.
Well, this is what happens, Cole, when you sell your soul to the networks. They then get to dictate when you play the games.
So no Thanksgiving football now, man.
I mean, just wait, Cole, until they decide, you know what? We're going to make this conference play on Wednesday nights instead.
And listen, I know that there's NFL on Thanksgiving, but that Egg Bowl being at the end, it was fun. It was a fun way to end Thanksgiving, but now they're freaking going to Black Friday at 3:30.
Madcraft says, he said, when I said I'm Ron Burgundy, he said, no, Cole is Ron Burgundy. He'll read anything that a text says. JD says the baseball committee is in bed with the SEC worse than football. Yeah, JD, they put Florida in. They sure as hell didn't seem to deserve to be in postseason play.
Wanted to get to a couple of texts. Texter says, this comes from the 978. Fridays are for high school football, not college or pros. Another texter from the 203, Diesel, to answer our question, says 3 max charters. Texter from the 809 says, when Furman adds 20 more women's sports scholarships, you may be right, but not before then. They could have cut women's lacrosse and kept baseball.
Yeah, this texter was responding to me urging Furman to bring back baseball. He said, no. The athletic director confirms it in print media once. Well, that's print media. It's written on paper, okay? It's not chiseled in stone. Anything could happen.
We're about to have
we'll see. I mean, it would take a lot as far as capital investment. We need some really, really rich Furman alum to throw a lot of money at it to bring baseball back.
Another texter,
that's
Diesel,
really the only hope.
Another texter says, nah, baseball is not coming back to Furman.
Yeah.
That sucks, man. That is so bad. Like, come on, do better.
Yeah, I remember COVID when a lot of schools were toying with the idea of cutting sports. Not many of them did. Furman did with baseball. Unfortunately, App State did with men's soccer. They had a good men's soccer program.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they had a good program. And then, flash forward a couple of years later, the Sun Belt Conference ended up a really good soccer conference.
So you think they'll get it back?
I don't think so. I genuinely don't. I think, the farther and farther you get away from it, the people who really want it back, they get tired of screaming into the ether, and
that stinks,
and they won't start a new program anymore.
Really
I mean,
stink.
I'm afraid for more programs down the line.
Yeah.
Once these new NCAA regulations and the scholarship limits and all this stuff comes in, and the ability to fully fund it and have to revenue share. All that's going to cost these universities so much money, Cole, that they may not have a choice than to cut sports.
It's going to be really interesting. It really is. Do us a favor if you have not done so already. Go follow us on Twitter. That way you can interact with us during the week. On the weekends when we're off air, he is at Diesel on Radio. On X, I am at the Cole Bryson. I'll give you a follow back as well. Julian Council of Locked On Panthers next. It is absolutely wild to think that we are only a month and a half or so away from training camp in the NFL. But we love it. Bring it on, right? Nobody's complaining. It just sneaks up on you. And to talk NFL, especially the Carolina Panthers, your Carolina Panthers, we bring on Julian Council of Locked On Panthers. Julian, we appreciate you hopping on with us. And I have to start this interview by asking about the buzz in Charlotte. Everybody knows that when the Panthers were at their best, there was a huge buzz created by Cam Newton, and the city was really rallying around the team. Have you noticed, with a little bit new management and a new coach, have you noticed Panther fans buzzing and doing something that they haven't been able to do in a long time?
I am absolutely stunned that you are sitting here still saying that the upstate is the Carolina Panthers are their team. I would have felt like at this point they would have renounced the Panthers after going 2-5 and missing the playoffs every year since 2017. So good to hear that folks in the upstate are still loving the Panthers, even though I guess David Tepper has left them with training camp no longer to be at Wofford and Spartanburg. But as far as the buzz, the NFL, they sell hope better than any other sports league in North America. In the NBA here in Charlotte, I don't think the Hornets are ever going to be a team that's contending for NBA finals year in and year out. And they've been around for over 30 years. So I think we're kind of past that point of ever happening. Major League Baseball, kind of a money game there. Hockey, don't really know the sport, but it seems like there's not that much parity. But the NFL, you can see small market teams, put that in quotes, like Kansas City, win Super Bowls 2 out of the last 3 years. You can watch Buffalo rise up to the top of the AFC. You can watch the Browns figure things out. And then you can watch a team like the Carolina Panthers in Charlotte go to the Super Bowl 2 times. So, yeah, it sells hope. And there certainly is a buzz around Dave Canales, new head coach here, because of his effervescent personality. He really exudes positivity. The thing, though, is they're going to have to win games once it matters come Sundays in the fall. But there was renewed hope, but also there was cautious optimism because fans have done this before with Matt Rule. Didn't work out. They've done it with Frank Reich. Of course, that was a spectacular failure. They're hopeful. They're excited, but they need to see the results before they truly buy in again.
I urge you to find him on your favorite podcast platform at Locked On Panthers. Julian Council joins us here. Julian, it's Diesel. Thanks for taking some time with us this afternoon. Just before the draft, David Tepper told Sheena Quick that he would stay farther away this year than he has in years past. Then the incident at the Dilworth Neighborhood Grill happened, which I went to a few weeks back, met Matt, the owner. He's absolutely fantastic. He could have earned himself a ton of goodwill by coming in and saying, that's funny. You guys got me, buying everybody's lunch, handing out some free hats or T-shirts or whatever. But he didn't. He embarrassed himself again. Since then, though, it's been quiet. Is he staying quiet? How long does this radio silence last in your mind?
Well, it's kind of one of those things where how many days since the last accident? And that's what we're doing with the counter here. So I guess it's been about a month since the last incident involving David Tepper, where he makes himself look foolish and petty as an owner. And I do agree with you as far as he could have just gone in there even after the fact, after he had his latest run-in with I don't even know, the locals, if you want to call it that. He could have gone back and bought everybody around him drinks, been like, hey, my bad. I got to be better. You're a local business that really is reliant on the team doing well, more so than David Tepper, because the Panthers are going to make money regardless of whether they win games or not. Now, if you're a local business, the Panthers aren't winning, even though this is a transplant city and Dilworth Neighborhood Grill, by the way, plays Steelers and Jets games, they're not going to make as much as they potentially could if the Panthers were playing well. But yeah, things have been quiet for now, but we'll see. I'm not totally bought into the idea that David Tepper is going to take a step back completely. I totally understand it's within his right because he does own the team, that he will be in some of those decisions. Like when you sign Derek Brown to a massive extension, you should probably go to the owner first and tell him this is what we're going to do in the situations. When you go after quarterbacks, you should probably tell him who you want to get and also the kind of money you want to get them for, but you don't necessarily need to have him have the final say, which I think has been the problem in Carolina. So we'll see whether he truly has taken a step back, but things are quiet for now, but it's also about to be June. There's going to be a little bit of dead period here. We'll see how things are working once we get to August and September.
Hey, Julian, I know there's a lot of excitement around Dave Canales, but my curiosity really piques when you look at guys like Sean McVay, who came into a situation as a young, innovative mind and turned the team around so quickly. Yes, he had a ton of talent to obviously help the runs that he went on. But is Dave Canales, in your mind, a guy that can come into a place like Charlotte and be enough of a difference maker to turn this around?
It's hard to say. We don't know much about Dave Canales. He's only spent 1 year as an offensive coordinator in the NFL, and that was last year in Tampa Bay, and he did a fantastic job with Baker Mayfield. Also did a great job the year prior as the quarterback coach with Geno Smith. Now, I've heard guys like that get a ton of credit. I think back to when the Eagles won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles having to fill in for Carson Wentz, and everyone talked about how great John DeFilippo was. And that wasn't all Doug Peterson. It wasn't Frank Reich. And that John DeFilippo was the next thing coming. And he now coaches in the UFL. So we'll see whether it works out. That's great sample size. That 2 quarterbacks and Baker, who's been a journeyman and was here in Carolina and looked unplayable a couple of years ago. And then Geno Smith, who had his opportunity, got knocked out by his teammate, lost his job, then just traveled around the league for the next decade before finally getting another shot and playing really good football as a Pro Bowler the last 2 years. The hope is that's what he can do with Bryce Young. Now, defensively, I have my questions of the personnel there. I also question the owner and his patience and how much time Dave Canales is really going to get. So I like things on paper as far as his scheme and what he's able to do with Baker and with Geno the last couple of years. It's just one of those things where it's TBD on whether he truly can be the guy to turn around. Because remember, the only team in the NFL that interviewed Dave Canales were the Carolina Panthers. It wasn't like anybody else was banging on this guy's door to be a head coach, except for David Tepper, who we have to understand, too, only had so many options considering how things go, like him throwing drinks on fans and firing coaches after 11 games.
Julian, obviously Dave was criticized as being a yes man early on, somebody so eager to be a head coach that he would let Dave Tepper walk all over him. I know, like you just said, the sample size there is small, but is there anything that you've seen or heard thus far that would show you that characterization isn't true or is maybe a little bit unfair?
I think it's unfair. He's been here since January. They haven't even gotten through all of OTA practice. They haven't even played a game yet. I don't think that's the right characterization of anyone within that building that just got hired. Like Dan Morgan, he was there as an assistant general manager, and clearly David Tepper liked him enough to keep him around as a GM. They brought in Brant Tillis, and obviously they brought in David Canales. I just think it's a little bit too early for any sort of criticism like that he's being a yes man. I think for now he's being given the autonomy to do what he needs to do as a head coach of the team. Now, does he have the final say? I don't know, but I don't think that's fair.
You can follow him on Twitter at Julian Council. He is with Locked On Panthers. Julian, I want to play a little game here with you. In 2024, who has the better season in your opinion, Jonathan Brooks or Xavier Legette?
I would bet on Jonathan Brooks having the better season. The one thing that Canales has been pretty consistent about and pretty transparent is that they want to run the football. He talked about it yesterday during his availability. This is a team that's going to run the ball, that it's going to be able to help guys like Ike Ekwonu, who really struggled in pass protection, because that's what he's better at, is running the ball, run blocking. That's what they want to do. So Chuba Hubbard, he's going to be a guy who starts off, I think, as running back 1 until Brooks is coming off that ACL tear at Texas, until he's ready to go. By all reports, he should be good by July 1 training camp. He won't have to report until July 19th. First practice will be on the 24th. There's a little news there for you folks. So he should be good to go, you would think, but at some point to be the guy. I would say it's going to take him some time to take over as the top running back. And it'll still be kind of a by committee approach with him and Hubbard as the top 2 guys. But I'm expecting the amount of times they want to run the football with still questions of whether they have the right quarterback and if they can really protect on the outside. As far as with Ike Ekwonu, I think they're going to be more of a run-first team than a team that's going to be pass-first, which they were last year. And then with Xavier Legette, was awesome at South Carolina. I love the potential there. I would not expect him to have the kind of season he had last year at South Carolina, of course, as a rookie. And he's not going to be the number 1 option. It's going to be Deontay Johnson, who they traded for, and it's going to be Adam Thielen. He'll be the number 3 guy, and the hope is that he shows potential that he can grow into that number 1 role, maybe the number 2 role as they continue to fill out that wide receiver position down the road. But I'm expecting Jonathan Brooks in an offense that is going to be run first, which remember what Seattle did. I understand Canales is an offensive guy, but Pete Carroll spent a long time there with them. Pete Carroll, defensive coach. They ran the ball behind guys like Marshawn Lynch, and that's what helped them get to the Super Bowl with an outstanding defense. I'm expecting Brooks to have a better rookie season.
Xavier's been limited in practice, Julian, with a hamstring issue officially reported as tightness. What can you tell us about that?
I think it's one of the things where they're just trying to slow it down a little bit. It's early, and Dave brought this up yesterday where you got a lot of young guys, and it's not just him, but a lot of young guys that are coming in and getting used to the speed and the pace of practices in the NFL. And when they saw him kind of slow down, they brought the trainers over and gave him a day yesterday. They'll be out there again tomorrow for their 6th OTA practice. It'll be interesting to see whether he's available then, but it's smart. It's May. It's almost June. There's no point to go out there and overexert a player who you're really going to be depending upon. But the hope is that he can do the right treatment and keep his body in the right shape. So when he has that layoff in between the mandatory minicamp and training camp, that's just something that doesn't pop up again once we get to August.
Julian, I want to go back to the answer that you gave on the question that I asked about Leggett or Brooks. You said that Leggett is going to be, for now, the number 3 guy. I want to push back a little bit on that in terms of would the Carolina Panthers spend a first-round draft pick to draft the number 3 receiver?
Possibly when they first come to the league. Now, every situation is different, of course.
Yeah.
This situation here, there is going to be an opportunity for him to come in and to potentially be that number 2 option. I'm just going off of the proven commodities based off a guy who we also have no idea whether he will end up playing at a high level in the NFL. Like, I understand he had injuries, terrible quarterback play, different head coaches, death in the family, all of that played into a role potentially of him not doing anything at South Carolina until that bowl game against Notre Dame, then having a breakout season last year. There's just not enough of a sample size for me to sit here and believe that he's going to step into the league and he's going to make big time plays. But I have seen Deontay Johnson be a Pro Bowler, and I have heard Dave Cowles talk about he is going to be our X. He is going to be our first read. He's going to be our guy. And I just watched Adam Thielen at age 33 have 100 catches and 1,000 yards receiving. Yes, mainly by necessity. He's probably going to lose a step this year, but Thielen's a proven commodity who's once upon a time was a pretty damn good player in the NFL. I'm going to go with those guys being the first 2 options before I'm going to go for rookie who didn't do a damn thing until January, December 31st, I think technically, of 2022. I'm going to kind of not have those expectations on Leggett yet. But down the road, like, this is probably the last year for Thielen. Deontay Johnson's a free agent after the season. Like, next year, you're hoping that Leggett shows enough that he could be that guy. But I don't think that when he first steps out there for week 1, that he's going to be that number 1, number 2 option based off of who you have and what they've done. And just, there's still, I think, a pretty big unknown whether Leggett can actually do that on a consistent basis, not just outside of college, not just in college, but in the NFL.
Host of the Locked On Panthers podcast, Julian Council, joins us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. The Germany trip, I understand you're going mid-November versus the Giants. Are you going to fly in, fly out? Are you spending some time? What's on the agenda? And do you have any advice on how maybe Cole and I could convince Odyssey to foot the bill to send us over there as well?
Well, top advice is start selling right now. Figure out a deal with a hotel and be able to get that figured out. Figure out a deal with an airline. I recommend Lufthansa and figure out a way to get over there for free. But yeah, I'm getting in. I'm leaving Monday the 4th. Game's on the 10th. I'm leaving Monday the 4th to get there on Tuesday the 5th in the morning. And then I'll be there all the way until that next Monday when I fly back. So I'm doing a full week there. And beer, that's what's on the itinerary. Going to be doing, like, I heard there's 6 breweries that are a part of Oktoberfest. And there may be more in the city, but there are 6 official breweries that are a part of Oktoberfest in Munich. So 6 days in Munich, 6 breweries a day, or just 1 a day. But either way, going to check out all the history that they got there in Center City. So excited. But yeah, I would tell Odyssey that, start selling some ads and figure out how you guys can get your German brethren to help you out there and figure out a way to get there for cheap, if that's possible. The flights honestly aren't that expensive if you fly to Charlotte.
Yeah, we better start selling today, Diesel and I, if that's the case. So you're exactly right on that. Hey, my last question for you, Julian. When you look at the 2024 season, obviously going back to my very first question, the NFL does give hope to fan bases. What are realistic expectations that you think Panthers fans should have going into training camp?
What if I told you that the Panthers could triple their win total?
Wow.
That would be that sounds great, right? But it's only 6 wins. But if you say they tripled their win total, that sounds awesome. If you say they win 6 games, doesn't sound that great. Now, it's, of course, a lot better than going 2-15. But if you say they triple their win total, you like to hear that. So I do think that's probably the ceiling for this team. Understand that your defense is not going to get better without Brian Burns. I get not paying him $30 million, but Brian Burns has more sacks in his career in 5 years than Jadeveon Clowney has in his 10 years playing in the NFL. And Clowney's an outstanding player when healthy, really good. But this is the first time he's ever been a priority free agent, and he was signed at the end of March. Like, the guy has never lived up to the billing of being the number 1 overall pick. Back when he came out, he's never been that guy that we saw down in Columbia. Doesn't mean he's not still a good player, but he was supposed to be Myles Garrett. He hasn't been Myles Garrett. So I have a hard time believing he's going to come in here and he's going to replicate what he did last season in Baltimore and be that guy that you can depend on, especially with the health that he's had, the issues throughout his career. Burns is the guy who's always out on the field. Like, you don't get better without Brian Burns. You don't get better without Frankie Louvu. Josie Jewell, he's a good linebacker, but he's not the kind of dynamic player that Louvu is. And in the secondary, J.C. Horn, they gave him the 5th-year option. I think he's a great player. The problem is he has missed 29 out of a possible 51 games. Something happens to him again. The depth at corner is terrible. Like, I just don't think it's going to be a good defense. But I do think a lot of the games that we watch are going to be a lot like the game against Green Bay last year, where they're able to move the football. Bryce looks competent. They're scoring touchdowns, but they can't stop anybody. Like, they were bad against the run last year, last in sacks, last in pressure percentage, awful in the red zone, awful when it came to giving up points. I just don't think they're going to get better when you don't have reliable guys at outside linebacker and in the secondary, and then you lose to your key cogs of Burns and Louvu. So scoring points should be able to help them at least have a chance to win those games, but I still think there's going to be a long way to go. But I do think 6 is a possibility because of the offense having a step forward, but defensively it's going to leave a lot to be desired once we head into the offseason.
Julian, one of our Tolo listeners, Madcraft, says this guy has a lot to say considering it's the Panthers. He's good. Yeah, Madcraft, follow him on Twitter at Julian Council. Last one here for me, pal. Given this franchise's really atrocious cap situation, who do you see who is in make it or break it mode right now, has to have a major bounce back season or maybe shipped out or sold off to make some additional cap space?
Good question. I don't know. I don't know. As far as the roster, I think they're kind of good with what they want to do. Maybe they want to add another corner like Stephon Gilmore. Make a lot of sense. He's hanging out here locally. I don't know if there's anybody that they would want to ship out to open up cap space right now. But like, as far as like make or break kind of years, oh man, that's a tough one. Like, Ike Ekwonu's a guy where if he doesn't play well again this year, maybe they look at getting another tackle potentially, whether it be free agency or in the draft. Like Terrace Marshall, he's a guy who's entering his 4th year. He showed some promise there at the tail end of that season when Steve Wilkes the interim. And there's still questions about what his role is going to be and his future. So that's definitely make or break for him. But yeah, cap-wise, I don't think there's anybody that they're really going to cut now that's going to help them open up any space. Like, they could extend Taylor Moton. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm seeing things right now. So we'll see how things play out this year.
He is Julian Council at Julian Council on Twitter, the Locked On Panthers podcast host. You're the best, man. Thank you so much for the time.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Yes, sir.
That was
Julian,
fantastic.
yeah, he is good. Madcraft, you nailed it. He's really good. Hey, on the other side of the break here on the Fan Upstate, we're going to go into the worst rules in every major American sport. Be thinking about that, would you? Come up with your worst rules in each of the major American sports, not including soccer because it's not a major American sport. That's on the other side here on the Fan Upstate. texter says, I see you, Diesel, got that Boosie beat hitting. Well, first of all, I'm on the other side of the board now. Cole is running the board, but it's not a Boosie beat. It may be the core of the Boosie beat, but it ain't the Boosie beat. It's just fun to say Boosie beat.
I'll take credit for that,
There
Texter.
you go.
I'll take credit for that.
Let's
what
see.
about Clowney and Aaron Donald? Texter says we're in the same draft. Go figure. That's not good.
Yeah, you guys should definitely go follow Julian Council. He does a fantastic job covering that team, living right there in Charlotte. And man, I am jealous that he is going to Germany for the Panthers-Giants game in November.
One more I wanted to get to. Mark L. says, I know you were working last week during the SoCon tournament in Greenville, but I went to a few games and Walford looked really good, and they had to play 7 games to win the SoCon. Hope they upset LSU. Mark, I was there on Friday morning, so I did get to see Walford one time. They are very good. Their pitching is very impressive. I'd love to see it, man.
Cole, can I have this on tap, the energy that they've got inside of the stadium for Duke, Oklahoma, Women's College World Series opening round. I'm not sure where this game is being played, but they have like double-decker stands that feel like if you're sitting up there, you are looking right down into the stadium. Like you're sitting right there on top of it. Man, this looks fantastic. Why does anybody even go attend college baseball games? It's Devon Park. I don't know exactly where this is, but they've got upper deck seating that's like right on top of this softball field, man. Give me all of that every single day.
It's the best.
Cole, every sport has idiotic rules, right? Every sport has that thing. And most of the time we only think it's idiotic when it screws over our team, right? Like a rule that you didn't really even know exists. And then it comes into play and it screws your team out of a big win or something like that. I want to ask you, Cole, and I want to ask you, the Tolos who are listening online on the stream, on the Odyssey app. If you're listening over the air, 97.7 FM in Greenville or 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, tell me, what is the worst rule in every major American sport? And you can separate college football from NFL football. You can separate college basketball from NBA if they've got different rules there. But Cole, I have a list of a handful that drive me absolutely nuts. Why do we have these rules?
Yeah.
And I would like to hear from you, the Tolos, on your worst rules in every major American sport.
It's fantastic. It's absolutely a great conversation because there are a lot of bad ones, right? And if you don't follow the Fan Upstate on Facebook, go ahead and do that at the Fan Upstate. Diesel, I put this on our Facebook page earlier this morning, and we have a ton of comments to get to. So people are chiming in, and you can do so as well on text line. Also, phone lines are open as well, 844-FAN-PHONE.
Yeah, we see you, JD, calling in there. We're going to get to you here in just a second, Cole. But one of the things that drives me the most nuts in sports is when they are playing the same game.
Yeah.
At the pro and the college level, but they've got different rules at the pro and the college level. Like things like that drive me nuts. Why is the rule in college you only have to get 1 foot in bounds, but in the pros you got to get 2 feet in bounds? Like I understand that, you know, pro, you're saying, well, you're better, you should be able to get 2 feet in bounds, but saying this is a higher level of play, so we're going to hold you to a higher standard. I mean, we all know that doesn't hold any water across a lot of different things when it comes to NFL and the way they handle their business. Make it the same rule for both. Give me the 1 foot down rule in pro football. I mean, they're doing so many other things, Cole, that supports the offense, right? Mm-hmm. This would support the offense even more. You take away that burden of getting 2 feet down.
So to go along with your NFL versus NCAA controversy, mine is the down without contact rule. I wish college would actually adapt the NFL rule that if you fall, if you're running and you trip and you get up and continue to run, that's legal as long as you don't get touched. I like the NFL rule of only being able to be considered down if you're contacted.
Yeah, what if you're Barry Sanders and you just outrun everybody? You're 15 yards ahead. You stumble at the 2. In college, you're just down. It is what it is. You're down. But in the pros, you can get up and keep going. I don't understand that rule either, Cole. I don't like that one either. One of my biggest gripes, and it's a big gripe of mine because it screwed my team in a big game, is the rule that you can advance the ball on a fumble into the end zone. So you can score on a fumble into the end zone on first, second, and third down, but not on fourth. What? That doesn't make any sense.
It's great.
My team is playing a road game at Tennessee. The game is late. Defense is trying to hold.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Is Josh Dobbs quarterback for Tennessee?
Yep.
He swings to his right, gets speared in the gut at like the 4-yard line, and he just lets go of the ball.
Yeah.
And it rolls into the end zone, and a Tennessee player lands on it, touchdown. Game goes up. The team Tennessee takes the lead with a minute to play or something.
Sure.
Like that. Because it happened on second down, it's a live ball. You can fumble it into the end zone for a touchdown.
So I have one that's similar to that.
Stupid ass rule.
I think this one's stupid. Fumbling into the end zone and it going out of bounds, even if you cross the goal line. Touchback happened to my team, my Cowboys. I hate that rule. It's stupid.
Because all you got to do if you're a defense is get really good at knocking the ball out in the end zone, and you could get the ball back plus 20 yards.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't like any of those rules, man. Like I don't like the inconsistency of having a rule that applies on a couple of downs, but not all downs. It should be all or nothing. And I don't think you should be able to fumble the ball into the end zone and land on it for a touchdown. You should not be able to advance the ball into the end zone if you fumbled it outside of the end zone. The ball should go back. If you recover the ball, if your team recovers the ball, it should go back to the yard line where you lost it. So, or at least the 2. At least take it back to the 2. So if Josh Dobbs fumbles that ball on the 4, it goes into the end zone and Tennessee recovers it, bring the ball back out to the 4 where he fumbled the football, because he wasn't trying to do that.
Yeah.
He just got supremely lucky in that situation.
Want to get to a couple on our Facebook page. Nicholas Diesel said fumbling the ball through the end zone results in a turnover. Mm-hmm. Just like I said, he and I both agree on that.
Here. Talking pro.
John says golf. You're allowed to mark and pick your ball on the green when you're super close to the pin, but on the fairways or the rough, you can't touch your ball. What a stupid rule. That's a good one. I didn't think about that.
Well, that one is designed, I mean, where your ball lands on the rough or in the fairway, whether it lands in a divot or if it lands behind a leaf or a stick or whatever, that, that's the old adage, play the ball as it lies.
Sure.
You can't improve your lie. It's meant to penalize you for not hitting the ball down the fairway, right? I mean, you can't pick the ball up and set it back down gently and make sure that you're sitting up top nicely on top of the rough. But when you're on the green, so much of being on the green, Cole, and making your putts is about being able to align the ball. And most golfers do that with that little line that's marked on the golf ball. So you line your putt up with that. You're not advancing the ball. You're not improving your lie on the ball because you're on the green, right? You're on flat, level, well-manicured green.
I hadn't thought about that.
You're not really improving unless, I mean, the only thing I can think of, Cole, where it might come into play, what this texter's talking about. And I've had this happen to me one time on a par 3. I approach and the ball plugs right into the ground because it had been raining really hard the day before, like really hard. Green's super soft. This ball comes down from its apex and it just sticks in the ground. You can't take that ball out of that hole because then you're improving your lie.
Yeah.
But if that's not the case and you're sitting on a normal green, you're not improving your lie at all. You're putting the ball right back where it was. You're just able to line the putt up with the lines that are painted on the golf ball.
A ton of reaction and thoughts coming in. Let's get to the phones. JD is on the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone, 844-326-3663. What's up, JD?
Hey, gentlemen, as always, thank you for taking my call. Yeah, I mean, y'all hit me a few there that, I mean, do we even know what a catch is anymore? I mean, like that's one of the dumbest rules ever. You got to maintain control through the ground, but if you're back, if you're in the field of play and you come down and you got the ball, it might be a fumble. And so that's one, yep, y'all hit that one. I hate the fumbling through the end zone. I'm gonna give you two different ones though here, real quick, if I could. I hate in college football if you block a punt and recover it, you can advance
Yes.
the ball. If I'm correct, like what? Like, it's a fumble. Like, you should be able to pick it up. If you block the punt, it is a fumble. You should be able to advance the ball. And then my other one, real quick, is the transfer portal. Man, I used to hate the rule about making people sit out a year in college football when they transferred. But now, all of a sudden, I kind of want that rule back.
Well,
so,
JD, that's not a
I'm torn
rule
on that
anymore.
one.
That's a law. That's a law. That
Right.
was settled in court, my friend.
Yeah, hey, well, like I said, it used to be I couldn't stand it when if somebody wanted to go better their situation and you made them sit out a year, and now it's just like, oh no, I kind of want that one back. So it's just very funny how rules can change sometimes, but when we see what it's like on the other side, we kind of want to go back.
And JD,
then,
JD, can you define for me what a football move is and why, for some reason, when you watch a football move in real time, it looks like a football move, but when you watch it in slow motion, they say, well, it doesn't look like a football to me in slow motion anymore. We got to stop with this commentary, the play-by-play guys saying, well, the slow motion shouldn't matter because you're like, come on.
Right. Oh no. Hey. Well, yeah. I can't tell you what a football move is. I never played football, but I mean, once you see things in slow motion, these guys. Trust me, the refs and umpires, they're calling it bang bang. They're calling it the best they can in some cases. I mean, like Angel Hernandez, for example, he obviously was not trying to do a good job. But that's one thing I was going to mention too is like these baseball umpires, like we saw at the end of the South Carolina LSU game. Like, they see this rule pop up and they're like, oh, I finally get to call this random rule that I know. Let me show off to all my umpire buddies about how I know the rules of baseball. And you're calling just nonsense, catcher's balks or whatever it may be. So there's tons wrong with all of the rules. You guys nailed it. Thank y'all for taking my call. Y'all have a good one.
I appreciate the call, JD.
Thank you, JD.
We're going to continue. So much to get to. Your text 71307, as well as a good amount of comments on our Facebook page. And Diesel and I still have a few that we haven't gotten to, but we've got to run to break. We'll come back and continue this conversation, continue to get your thoughts in on what rule you hate the most in the major sport that you follow. Football, baseball, basketball, get them in. We see the text. We're coming to them on the other side. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is The Fan Upstate. A lot of text to get to. I do want to finish up on our Facebook page. Those who commented earlier today about their dumbest sports rule, what rule they hate the most. Keith pointed out a really good one that we'll talk about. We've talked about it before, Diesel, but Keith says starting extra innings in the MLB with a runner in scoring position. He's talking about the ghost runners. We'll get to that. Also, Steven says the ball not advancing to half court in the final 2 minutes of a men's college basketball game after a timeout. Eric says, here's an unpopular one, but in football, throwing a pass out of bounds has no penalty and is not intentional grounding. It should be down where the pass was released rather than zero consequence. That's interesting.
That does make some sense. I mean, you did intentionally throw the ball out of bounds, not to a receiver.
Yeah.
So that should be. I mean, then again, like what we do at the end of the movie Varsity Blues. You know, you can't do the mascot play where you knock the guy off the horse.
Hey, speaking of knocking the guy off the horse, next comment, Jeff says baseball has a lot of dumb rules, but they should let a batter and pitcher fight like hockey. Wow.
Speaking of baseball, Cole, this one has never made any sense to me. The dropped strike 3 where the runner can attempt to advance to first base. I mean, all the catcher has to do is not grip the ball, not grip the pitch just right when it hits his glove, and he drops the ball and runners try to advance. I mean, it almost never works. You almost never see the catcher bungle that play and not get the ball to first base.
It's true.
So it's one of those things that's dumb. Why are we still doing it? We just need to stop with that rule.
We got several on our Facebook page that said offsides in hockey and soccer. I know that is not a popular rule, and I'm not a hockey and soccer expert, but I do know that there are a lot of people that are in the same boat.
What do you mean? I mean, what do you want to let somebody just camp down by the goal? I mean, otherwise,
well,
you
can
have
do basketball, right? But if you camp, it's going to hurt you. Because you don't have somebody.
You're losing a defender.
Sure.
But then what's to stop them from doing the same thing? Like, all you have to do is have a striker be able to get the ball way downfield. If the offsides rule doesn't exist, Cole, and one more offensive player for me can stand down there by the goalie of the other team and just, I don't know, have a conversation with him. Yet I can kick the crap out of the ball accurately from midfield. I can get him the ball and immediately put him in a one-on-one situation with the goalie.
That's why
the offsides rule exists. Now it is certainly weird when you watch, offensive players do this little dance back and forth with defensive players and try to make sure they don't go offsides.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem with the offsides rules.
Mongo says NFL roughing the passer, NCAA football targeting. So he says roughing the passer in the NFL, and Mongo says targeting in college football. I think we can all agree that targeting is not called consistently. Like the rule needs to be there.
Oh yeah. Why is there only defensive targeting, but there's no offensive targeting? Why can a running back intentionally lower his head to go through a defender, but a defender can't do the same thing?
This text is really funny from the 954. Thank you guys for talking sane sports. Your counterparts, Rob and Zoe, were talking about shadow box framing underwear this morning. Don't believe me? Just ask.
Madcraft said earlier, Cole, the fact that they stopped selling beer in the third quarter of most games. He says that's a dumb rule. That's not a dumb rule, Madcraft.
Well,
that's not a dumb rule.
Maybe for you, Madcraft. You think it's a dumb rule, but for the drivers out there driving, they would argue that, right?
Wesley Roberts says every rule in the NBA. Now, here's one that really bugs me, Cole, about college basketball. I don't watch a whole lot of NBA. I'm sure it happens in the NBA also. But you come down to a stretch, you got players who allot themselves 5 fouls in college basketball over the course of a game.
Yeah.
Then it goes to overtime, and players are fouling out early in overtime. So the best players are coming off the court because you just put them in an extra time situation without an extra foul.
Okay.
So I propose a rule change to college basketball, Cole. And I have a big problem with the fact that there's 5 in college and 6 in the NBA. I understand they play a little bit longer of a game in the NBA, but I think if a player is still eligible, meaning they have not yet fouled out, and you go to overtime, they should get one extra foul to play with.
Okay.
So they should go to 6. Essentially, you go to overtime, you now get 6 fouls.
Yeah.
If you're still eligible and you go to second overtime, you get 7 fouls. I don't like the best players in the game having to change the way they play down the stretch with the possibility of them going to overtime.
So Wesley brought up a good one that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. It happened. He said, all jokes aside, losing a challenge in the NBA, even when you win the challenge, for being punished for calling out a bad call. That's correct. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago we talked about that. Here's the one, Diesel, that I hate more than anything in basketball. And I saw this 2 nights ago. I put it out on Twitter and had several comments. I don't like when a player who has the basketball, let's say behind the three-point line, can pump fake, the defender comes to guard the player, and the offensive player with the ball then lunges forward into the defender and shoots to create and initiate contact, and it's called a defensive foul.
Didn't they put a rule in place against that this year?
It's supposed to be, but they still – Luka did it the other night.
You can see players when they'll kick their feet out trying to get contact on three-pointers. Yeah, I mean,
it happens every night. It's ridiculous.
Ticky-tack. Like in that same vein, Cole, there's so many off-ball fouls that are called in basketball. Like, I understand that fouls happen off the ball, but they are called entirely too often. And oftentimes they're called in bad situations when, when you're just trying to gain position. Like if you clock somebody and take them down, if you clothesline somebody, if you elbow somebody trying to get a rebound, that's something. But like if you're just fighting for position, you shouldn't be called for a foul for that.
Texter says there just needs to be a little leeway on the onside or the offsides rule. 2 guys can almost be side by side, and because one is on offense, he gets called for offsides because he's barely ahead of the defender. And I do get that. Like if you're just barely ahead, that is one thing, right? Another texter says foul for overacting in the NBA. There was one that
LeBron would have fouled out of the league by now.
Oh, hush. What about this one? Texter says from the 4-3-2, foul ball stuck in the catcher's mask. The batter gets first base. I've never heard that.
Huh?
That would be news to me. Foul ball gets stuck.
I've never heard of that rule.
Texter, are you pulling our chain?
That's not real.
There's no way, man. Surely that's not real. Going back to your golf conversation, Diesel Texter from the 504 says, yes, you can move the ball from a plugged lie. If it is deemed plugged by an official, you can move it a club length no closer to the hole. Okay.
So you can move it left or right, a club length.
Gotcha.
I mean, you can move it backwards if you wanted to.
What about this one? I do agree with the 978. Offsetting penalties, double technicals, etc. What repercussions are there for teams involved? Like, I don't love that. I understand it if both teams commit a foul, then you have offsetting or double techs, but there's no penalty, right? There's nothing that has to happen to either team in that situation. So both teams can make an egregious foul, but they're going to be called offsetting. Madcraft says it's not a foul ball, it's a pitched ball. All runners advance. Talking about the face mask text there.
Madcraft says we mischaracterized his statement earlier about not selling beer after the third quarter. He said, man, read all of that text. We're not all degenerates. I never planned on driving. Let me get tanked. Hey, you can still get tanked, Madcraft. You know, it's called having leftover beers in your car. Yeah, you can go tailgate. You can drink your 12-pack of beer. Guess what? You get another 6-pack of beer, 12-pack of beer. You can drink more after the game if you want to. You just can't do it inside the stadium. It's called legal liability, Cole.
And baseball who were we talking to a couple of weeks ago? Oh, it was Bob Nightingale of USA Today.
Oh, yeah.
One of the days you were out. Bob was talking about the pitch clock affecting games being shorter, and
beer
stadiums
sales.
Losing tons of money on beer sales. Which is fascinating, right?
That is.
Because we want to speed the game up, but then there's a ton of money lost. So, like, what do we really want? So it's
just going to charge $1 more a beer? I mean, it's already $12
I was gonna
for a
say.
small beer. What's the difference between 12 and 13?
It's true.
Yeah.
A lot of good conversation, though. We appreciate you that got in on the conversation. Speaking of conversation, Diesel. Oh,
Yeah, it is time for you and I to fight about it. The 5 o'clock fight comes up next right here on the Fan Upstate. We are going wire to wire. So are you, you Tolos, you beautiful Tolos, you listening all the way from 3 o'clock to 7 o'clock. We thank you so much for turning it on and leaving it on. That's what a Tolo is, Cole. Right now, it is time for the most interacted with segment on this station, guaranteed each and every day at 5 o'clock. We pick 3 different topics, sometimes sports, most of the time not, because that's what you guys love to argue about more than anything else. It's called the 5 o'clock fight. And exactly what makes this topic so interactive? Well, it's that you, the Tolos, we just talked about this, you decide who wins each round of the 5 o'clock fight. So after we fight it out, you text into the show 71307. Start your text with keyword fan or drop us a message in the comments section on the live stream on Facebook, Twitter, or on YouTube. And you tell us whose side you're on. Let's get started. Oh, this is a debate, my friend. If you're at the grocery store, are you going to the self-checkout line or to the regular manned checkout line? And we gotta set some parameters here. Are we talking about 1 or 2 items, or are we talking about a buggy full of items?
Buggy full, baby.
Buggy full of items.
Full,
okay.
Man. Diesel, I used to be a regular line guy. However, for whatever reason, as of late in the past few years, I have become a self-checkout man. Not a Joe Diffie pickup man, a self-checkout man.
When you got a dozen or more items, you're still going to the self-check cart full.
Like cart full, $200. I'm going self-checkout.
This makes you a pain in the ass.
Well, you know what? I would rather do it myself for whatever reason. Maybe it's because I was never a cashier at a grocery store, Diesel, and I never had that opportunity, but I definitely like going.
Madcraft
okay,
asked the question, is there a cute cashier?
Okay, good point.
Let's be real. We all do that, right?
We do.
We all go to the cute cashier.
But that doesn't count because cashier. This is we have to pick sides here, Madcraft. I agree that for the most part, I'm going Diesel. I am going self-checkout.
I almost always go to the regular line, even if I've got 2 or 3 items, Cole, because why? I support the American working man and woman, the hardworking high schoolers that are scanning your item across that little boop, boop, boop. It keeps them employed, right? I don't want to use the self-checkout just because I want to stick it to the store owners who are trying to save some money. They're trying to justify, right? They're trying to say, oh, look at this. Look at this. Used to be that 25% of our customers use these. Now 35% of our customers use the self-checkout. Guess what? That means we can employ 1 less person.
So you're saying I'm part of the problem.
You are part of the problem. You are not even close to being a solution.
And you're part of the problem.
Yeah, you are. You are. You go to the regular checkout line. You let those people do their jobs. And you know what? The people who are bagging your groceries, they are pros at this. They are literally professionals. They are getting paid for this. They know how to pack the stuff into the bag far better than I ever could.
No, that's true.
Go to the regular checkout line.
All right, let's see who agrees with me. I'm sure I'll lose. I've been on a losing streak lately. I need a little help.
Well, it's because you have terrible opinions and you're not great at arguing them.
Oh, my
Let's go with round number 2. Are you a cash guy or a credit card, debit card guy when you pay for things? I got a little cash on my wallet right here.
That's where you and I differ. That's where we differentiate, Diesel, because the problem is Cole never carries cash, okay?
Really?
Never. Like, if you pull me, there's 365 days of the year. If you come to me 360 days, there will probably be 360 days I don't have cash. I'm serious. I never have cash. I don't carry cash. I'm not against it. I'm not telling you I'm one of these cashless kings. I'm just telling you I get paid with a electronic statement, right? Or I get paid what do you call it? Direct deposit.
Yeah.
My money comes electronically. I don't get cash payment, so I don't carry cash. and I don't go out of my way to get cash out of the ATM so I can then spend the cash. I am a card guy.
I always have some cash on me, even if it's $10, $20. I like to have some cash on me, Cole. The problem is so many places are making it hard for you to even spend cash anymore. Like I've gone to concerts over the past couple of months where they're cashless and they have you go to a special ATM and put your cash on a little special debit card just for them. No, dude, I've got money in my account. I don't need to go put it on your special card that, guess what, I'm probably not going to get my change back for. Like, I don't want that, man. I like having cash. I like spending cash. I like having a little bit of change in my pocket. I'm going to be real with you. Yeah, I'm going to be real with you, Cole. I have got a fishbowl full of coins in my house, and I have this sick thing where I love to actually count the change and roll them up into rolls of quarters and dimes and pennies. It tickles my ADHD or something, but I love doing that.
You know what I like doing, Diesel? I like leaving my wallet at home and taking this iPhone right here for those on the stream and doing beep, touch pay, Apple Pay. Don't even have to take your wallet. Are you kidding me?
I do like doing that sometimes, but so many places don't have that yet.
Not everybody.
You can't rely on it. So if you're still on the fence, if you haven't gotten your votes in yet, do it. 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. If you're still on the fence about our round 1 and 2 fights, let's get it on one more time, and maybe this one will break your tie. Cole, my wife calls me at around 1 o'clock today. Freaking out. She's driving down the road and a spider crawls across her rear view mirror inside her car. She's like, I almost wrecked the vehicle. I had to pull over. It freaked me out. So I want to ask you, Cole, what freaks you out more? Bugs or snakes?
Definitely the slippery, slimy snakes. I'm not a snakes guy. I cannot stand them. I was fishing 2 weeks ago, and one came at the boat, just coming just dead at us. We hauled, and got out. I can't do snakes.
Slap it with the paddle.
No, I'm not a snakes guy. Get me out. I don't want no part of snakes. I get that bugs are a little bit more, frisky, and they can get to you quicker, and you can see a snake coming, and I get all that, but snakes, don't do it. No way. And you know where, Diesel. I'll take a bug all day long.
Snakes don't freak me out, man. I have a snake, and they're not slippery. They're not slimy unless they come out of the water. Then they might be, right? They might be wet and they have algae stuck to them or whatever. I own a snake. They're not freaky. My snake will just hang out around my neck, and I'll just sit there and watch TV with my snake wrapped around my neck.
You're kidding me right now.
No, I'm not kidding you at all. I'll send you a photo later.
Please don't. Diesel sending photo of a snake.
See, bugs can get into anything. They can find their way into your closed vehicles. I don't know how they do it. They find their way into your home, and it's like when you least expect it. You'll just be sitting there watching TV, minding your own business, and then a spider just dangles down from the ceiling and is right in front of you. What the hell?
Diesel, true story, real quick.
That's freaky. They could be around you at any time.
Real quick, true story.
Are.
In high school, a friend of mine came in late to school one day, right? And he walked in, and I remember this like it was yesterday. He was like an hour and a half late. We were like, hey, why are you late to school? What's going on? This was in high school. He wrecked his Jeep. I mean, bad. Wrecked his Jeep. You know why? There was a spider in his Jeep, and he wrecked it. Damaged it very, very badly, and was an hour late to school.
Do you think he got any money back from insurance when he told the adjuster there was a spider in my Jeep?
I would not have said those words to the adjuster, okay?
There you go. That is our 5 o'clock fight. Who won each round? Text us at 71307. Start your text with keyword fan. And if you would like to suggest something for us to fight about, here's how. Now it's time to hear from you, the Tolos, your responses to who won each round of the 5 o'clock fight. I'll take the stream, Cole. You take the text line. Madcraft says Diesel wins round 1, which was I go to the regular line. Cole likes to go to the self-checkout line. He says, Cole, you win round 2. I don't carry cash, so I can prove to the panhandlers I don't have anything.
That's true.
Yeah, Mad. I feel bad when I know I've got cash, but I don't. I don't give money to panhandlers. Like that's something I learned in my time in New York City. I was only there for a couple of months. Like it's not a big deal. But people will panhandle who don't actually need money. They just do it because they can throw on some raggedy clothes and they realize they can make a decent amount of money off of suckers who will just give them money. I don't like supporting somebody who somebody's addiction possibly. I mean, I would much rather give somebody leftover food than give them cash, right? Let's see, moving back to these messages. Wow, they're like rolling in at the moment. He did say that him and his grandfather used to love rolling coins all the time. Shane Barrett says, Cole with the clean sweep. Have you ever tried checking out in the normal line with kids? Nope, don't have any kids. That experience is a nope. I only get cash when it's absolutely necessary. And to quote Indiana Jones, I hate snakes.
Thank you, Shane.
Wait a minute, Shane. So all you have to do in the regular checkout line is to take your stuff out of the buggy and put it on the conveyor belt.
No
and everybody
questions.
else does everything for you. And for some reason you think that's harder than taking each item out one at a time, putting it in the bag. Oh crap, the little platform is full. Got to take that bag off, put it on the ground. Like that's more of a pain in the ass. What are you talking about?
You're acting like the cop with Scotty Scheffler. You're leading
questions.
You're leading.
We are going to get into that. That cop has spoken out over all of the internet coming after him. Let's see here. She says also Diesel sits with his snake around his neck. That is a nope. Texter says Cole just lost every round.
Knockout.
Yeah, Cole
Come on,
lost
Steven.
every round. Let's see here. Madcraft says Diesel round 1, Cole round 2, and Cole round 3. I thought we were friends, Madcraft.
Wyatt on the text line 71307. Start your text with the word fan. Wyatt says, quick recap, please. Round 1 was self-checkout or regular line. I said self-checkout. Diesel said regular. Round 2 was cash or card. I said card. Diesel said cash. And round 3 was what freaks you out more, bugs or snakes? I said snakes. Diesel said bugs. Let's see.
I've owned 4 different snakes, and I've been familiar with a lot of different species.
Well, that's
of
a
snakes.
you problem.
I don't mess around with wild snakes. I sure as hell don't mess around with venomous snakes. That's just plain stupid.
Let's see here on the text line. Dabo only uses self-checkout, just like how he only recruits players out of high school. He doesn't like help. You're terrible. Texter from the 903 says, no cash. The wife sniffs it out and takes it. Recap. We got to that one. Let's see. From the 427, item 1, are you kidding me? Diesel. Item 2, Cole. Item 3, Cole. No snakes. Texter from the 316 says Diesel wins, Cole. Or Diesel wins 1, Cole wins 2 and 3. That comes from G.
Mongo says Diesel supports the American working man because that's what I am, and that's who I care about. Mongo, that has been my Facebook profile bio for years for the planet. It says I play rock and roll for the American working man because that's what I am.
Alan.
And that's who I care about. What movie is that from?
I don't know.
Tommy Boy.
Alan and Lauren says, Diesel with a sweep today. We have 2 snakes and a bearded dragon at the house. You people have an issue.
Yeah, I had a bearded dragon.
Why do y'all have snakes and dragons in your home? This isn't the zoo.
At one point, Cole, I had a bearded dragon and 3 snakes at the same time.
Come on.
2 ball pythons and a Dumeral's boa.
Do y'all think this is the zoo, for crying out loud? Bearded dragons in your home?
Yeah, bearded dragons are like the Australian squirrels. They're everywhere over there.
Well, guess what? Keep them in freaking Australia. Don't bring them here.
Come on. They sit on your shoulder. They just hang out with you and watch TV. It's great.
What happens when one just turns evil?
They don't.
Are you kidding
sweet,
me?
Docile little animals.
What happens when that snake breaks out of his what do you have him in? A glass tank?
Glass tank.
What happens when he breaks out and chokes you?
It doesn't because the lid's clamped down. What else you got?
All right, that's all I got. Wyatt says, Cole, give Diesel the broom because he just got swept. Finally, somebody sides with me today. Wyatt, you're my favorite Tolo. Appreciate you listening and siding with me.
Texter here, he has a point, though. He says, since Walmart now has 2 lines and 50 self-checkouts, I go self-checkout. Well, that's because you've been forced to. That's because Walmart is lazy and cheap. where are all those employees going? They're sure as hell not back there restocking the shelves. I don't know how Walmart does it, Cole. It's like they just know to sell out of the thing that I need every time I go there. Every time I go for one specific item, it's always sold out.
You know what Cole doesn't do? Go to Walmart.
Yeah, it's good. Shop on Amazon, man. It'll be here in 2 days.
I'm not a Walmart
Sometimes
guy.
the very next day, it's cheaper. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to deal with all those idiots that shop at Walmart.
G said, Diesel, no snakes, hate snakes. You know what? I thought Walmart used to be the place where there was like 1 million employees. Now they can't find 6 to run a register. You go at a busy time. They have 2 registers open.
You stop to ask them a question. They act like you're the pain in the ass.
Yeah, you are. Why are you? Let me take my headphones out. What do you need, right? That's every time I go up to somebody, they have to take their headphones out.
You ask them where something is. They're like, I don't know. I think it's over there, but it's not. It's not there.
You know what, though? I've never owned a snake, Diesel, in my house, and I don't think that I ever will. Like, I think that is a non-negotiable. I don't think I will ever, ever, ever be able to own a snake. I can't do it.
Some people will refer to them as nope ropes.
Nope ropes. That's a good one.
Yeah. Nope.
That's a good. What kind of is yours? What kind is it?
It's a Dumeral's boa. It's a snake from Madagascar. Right now, she's only about 4 feet long.
Only 4 feet.
She's only about 4 feet long and maybe like 2 inches in diameter at her thickest part of her stomach. But this species will get up to about 8 feet and like 5 inches across in their diameter.
Yeah, I'm good.
They can be thick.
I'll pass. I will pass. Texter says, Cole, go to the pet store and grab a snake, take it to the cashier and pay cash. You people are terrible.
I'm surprised you didn't say go to the bathroom and grab a snake. Cole Bryson there getting his ass rocked here on the 5 o'clock.
Come on, I got Wyatt sided with me. My man Wyatt. I don't know Wyatt, but I need to know Wyatt. 844-FAN phones the way you can get in touch with the show. It's the renewal by Anderson.
Cole, that's how big a Dumeral's boa can be.
No, I'm past.
Those of you who want to see.
No.
That's not me, but that's how big they can be.
No, thanks. 844-326-3663. It's the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone. Big Kev wants to chime in. What's up, Kev?
Yo, Kev.
What's going on, fellas?
Waiting on you, man.
Listen, how do you wake up in the morning and just be like, hey, I want a snake? I don't.
They're easy to take care of. They're clean.
Get.
They're inexpensive to take care of. They're great pets, my man. I'm telling you.
They look like they always ready to bite. They look like they always just ready to pull up.
You telling me that the wrestler
Jake
the Snake didn't look cool with that python around his neck?
Yeah, he did. It didn't look cool if he beat me and put it on me.
I'm with you, Kev.
No, we're not doing that. Like I seen one the other day. I'm in my car, and I still stop and let him go on about his business because I'm thinking he might twirl up under the car when I go over and he's waiting on me to get out.
Kevin, I have held a fully grown 16-foot long Burmese python before.
Kevin, don't go there. Kevin, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. This is a family-friendly show.
No, it's not. You can go there.
We're not doing that one, man. I had a buddy that his homegirl stayed down the street. She's like, hey, will y'all help me move? I was like, yeah, I'll help you. So I get down there. I see the furniture. You got this big old tank, like big thing sitting in the lid. What is this? She's got a yellow python in there, and she's got another one. I just quit the job today. They don't even filling out no paperwork for this one because I'm not going. I'm okay.
I'm glad you said it.
When I see him at the zoo, I'm going on by him at the zoo. I have lost nothing dealing with this snake, man. Nothing.
I agree with you, man.
But no, we're not doing that, bro. We're like, we can go get all the dogs and cats you want to go get.
Right.
Like
nature's mouse catchers, Kevin. Come on now. That's all I'm saying, man. Yeah. They serve a valuable purpose.
Who?
Snakes.
What do they serve?
They kill rats. They kill rodents. They kill extra birds. Some of them eat bugs.
I tell you what you do. Keep the house clean. Clean up every other weekend on the outside. Keep the trash out from out the window. Get to worry about the rats. No way. Keep the grass cut.
Kev, you're the best, man.
Thanks, Kev.
We appreciate you.
Russell calls
844
them danger noodles.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I like that, Russell. 844 fan phone. All right, Diesel, while we have everybody buzzing, I want to plant a seed. I want you, the Tolos, you, the listener, to chime in. Start chiming in right now, or keep chiming in if you're already chiming in. In the very next segment, I ask you the question. We are a month and a half away from NFL training camps. Okay, we're going to go back to sports because this is a sports show. I think it is. When it comes to your favorite NFL team, chime in on the text line 71307. Start that text with the word fan. Also on the stream, we're live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Who's your favorite team? What is your biggest cause of concern going into the NFL season? Okay, so if your favorite team's the Dolphins, what's your biggest cause of concern? Or if you don't have any concern, maybe you're a Chiefs fan, what do you feel the best about? Get to that next and more. Your thoughts. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate. My question to you is very simple. Your favorite NFL team a month and a half away from training camp. What is your biggest cause of concern heading in to the 2024 season?
Before we bring this up, Cole, I think we don't talk a lot of politics on this show for great reason because it makes everybody miserable, but it is worth at least mentioning. And all we're going to do is mention it and leave it at that. Donald Trump has been found guilty on all 34 counts of falsifying business documents in New York. Wow. Huge breaking story right now.
So continue to get your thoughts in on the text line as well as the stream. Before we get to that, though, I want to go to Terrion, who's been holding on during the break, who wants to share a story regarding our last conversation in the 5 o'clock fight. What's up, Terrion?
What's up, guys? This is, and it's pronounced Torion.
Torion, I'm sorry. No, that's my bad.
Yeah, it's Torion, a.k.a. T Experience, previous caller from Offsides and Mark Ryan and Diesels, but great job that you guys are doing on this show.
Thank you.
Man, keep it going.
Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man. A couple of weeks back, I was sitting out in my car at home after work, as I love to do, as most people like to do after work, just sit in the car. So I'm sitting there, and a spider comes down, and I shoot a spider away, and went on in the house that night. Didn't think nothing else of it. So I get to work, and my boss, she's talking about something like a spider or something, a bug or something, and it happened in her car. You know, we laughed it off. Don't you know, I went on lunch that very same day, and the exact same spider appeared. I was like, are you kidding me? I was sitting at Hot Spot down in Spartanburg, and I live in Greenville, so I drove to Spartanburg, go to work at Spartanburg Community College. I'm sitting at Hot Spot on the lunch break, and the dang same old spider appeared, and so I took a picture of it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is the exact same spider I just seen last night. And so I shoved him away again. I rolled my window up, riding back to work from lunch. The same spider. How? I do not know.
You should have captured this thing, man. Make him a pet.
No, I was driving at this point, so I'm driving, and I thought I rolled my window up all the way. Don't you know that spider got inside and it did this little spider web thing and shot down. Man, I pulled my car over so fast. I didn't even look, and it was dangerous. It was dumb. It was stupid. I just literally pulled off in somebody's grass, and I'm sorry, whoever's yard that was.
That's what you say, Tori. That's not my car anymore. I'm just giving it away. I'm walking away. I'm done with this car.
Yeah, I didn't wreck, thank God, but I did pull off abruptly. Wasn't nobody behind me, but yeah, that was a crazy day. So,
Torion, listen, man, sounds like you need to get rid of that car. I'd burn it. I'd probably run it into a lake. You know what I mean?
So, Cole, this is Torion. Sorry, you can't see this, but if you happen to go check out the stream and you go back to the 5:30 mark, you'll be able to see this on the stream. This is the photo that my wife sends me of this spider that is crawling across her rear view mirror. It is half the length of the height of her rear view mirror. So what's that, about a 2.5 inch tall mirror?
So
this thing is an 1.5 inch long spider that's just crawling across her rear view mirror. She said she damn near wrecked. She almost pulled off the road and lost it. Oh,
Torion, be safe, man. We appreciate you listening, but be safe, brother. Appreciate the call. All right, we have the text already rolling in as well as on the stream. The question is, your favorite NFL team, what is your biggest cause of concern going into the 2024 season? Because I don't know if you know this or not, we are a month and a half away from training camp.
Yeah, they're in voluntary OTAs at the moment. For the Carolina Panthers, Cole, I think it's pretty clear that they have given up way too much to go get Bryce Young. That should be the biggest point of concern for Carolina Panthers fans, and that the cupboard is so bare that no matter what they do, they could get good skill position players. They could get good number ones at every position, but they're just not going to have the depth.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to protect Bryce Young. And then we're going to stay in this state of limbo where the team can never really get any better until Bryce Young is essentially spent up as a rookie. I mean, how many guys come out of college and they're great in college because they've got the best possible players around them that they can get. Guys coming out of Southern Cal, guys coming out of Alabama. But they all flame out in the NFL because they go to the absolute worst teams, and it kind of breaks them as quarterbacks.
I don't hate that, and I would love to hear from other Panthers fans out there in our audience, 71307. Are you in line with Diesel on that? If you're a Panthers fan, what is your biggest cause of concern? Alan in Lawrence gets us started on the text line and says, my biggest cause of concern, by the way, Alan's a Dallas Cowboy fan, smart guy. He says his biggest cause of concern is and always will be Jerry. So guess what? That is probably.
I mean, look on the bright side, Cole. You only got maybe like 40, 50 more years of Jerry.
Oh, don't say that. That's probably the cause of concern for
He's
every
going
Cowboys
to
fan.
live forever just to spite all of you.
How about this one? Texter from the 843 says, Saints are my favorite team. My biggest concerns, Dennis Allen and Derek Carr. You know where I stand on Derek Carr. I would agree with that texter. I don't love Derek Carr.
Burn the car. Drive that car over a cliff. That's Cole's stance on Derek Carr.
That is. You're exactly right. Shane Barrett on the stream says Jacksonville Jaguars, that's his favorite team. Biggest concern is having an offensive identity that doesn't suck / keeping up defensively with the Texans. Looking forward to T-Law taking the step I think he can into elite play. I think there is a very valid concern if you are a Jaguars fan, Diesel, because you do have a very good quarterback, but last year you saw a team plummet that you should never see in the NFL. So I don't know that there's many teams out there right now, Diesel, who have the concerns that the Jaguars do.
Shane, I think your biggest concern is that you have an owner in Shad Khan who very clearly wants to move his franchise out of the continental United States. I mean, are you still going to be a Jags fan if they are the London Jaguars? If they're the Munich Jaguars, are you still going to be a fan of that team then? Or will you root for a team that's based right here on American soil? I mean, that seems like a very real thing, right? I mean, the Jags have played more games overseas than anybody else over the past 10 years or so. So, I mean, I think that should be a very real concern.
Madcraft says Chargers, they have a top 5 quarterback and arguably the worst wide receiver room in the league, which is a very good point. Very good point, because that's the biggest question mark is Herbert's there, right? You have a great quarterback. However, you've got to have some help soon because Herbert's not going to stick around forever.
This texter here brings up a very good point. Texter says, I'm a Bucs fan, and my biggest concern is Baker Mayfield.
Okay.
Geno Smith was phenomenal in a year under Dave Canales. After he left for Tampa, Geno turned into a pumpkin. I think Baker could too. Well, then, texter, that gives me a little bit of hope as a Carolina Panther fan, hoping that Dave Canales can actually stick around for a little while in Charlotte and turn Bryce Young's career around. The problem with Bryce Young is he's little, man. He looks like everybody's little brother out there.
844 fan phone. It's the Renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone line. Brad wants to chime in. Brad, who's your favorite NFL team and what's your biggest cause of concern?
So my favorite NFL team, is definitely the Indianapolis Colts. And my cause of concern is we don't have an owner as good and as qualified as David Tepper. And I'll say this, if we had an owner that good, my goodness, we would be the Kansas City Chiefs. I am so jealous of the Carolina Panthers to have such an incredible owner.
Isn't it fantastic?
My goodness, that man is on a roll.
Teams who have bad ownership, Cole, we've had fans call in. You're a fan of a team with bad ownership. I'm a fan of a team with bad ownership.
Yeah.
Brad is a fan of a team with bad ownership. And the problem is, Brad, like that's a hole too deep, man. There ain't a shovel big enough to dig out of that hole.
But y'all may have talked about this earlier. But I just wanted to chime in real quick. We're on the baseball tournament that starts this weekend?
Yeah, we did.
So I just got off work.
We can hear that.
My big thing this weekend is
We thought you might be running away from a spider in your car.
you never know. But man, the ACC they kind of got screwed a little bit as far as regional matchups go. Like I don't think North Carolina deserved to have LSU, and I certainly don't think Clemson deserved to have Vanderbilt. But I'm excited. I think this is going to be a great tournament, and you call me crazy, but I think this may be the year where we finally see Clemson get out of their own regional. Because last time that happened, Cole, you and I were in high school. So, I think that finally happened. And, guys, it's been a great week. We're 93 days away from week 1 of college football.
Wow.
I absolutely love it, man. You just put a skip in my step, Brad.
Thanks for the call, Brad.
Wow.
Mongo says, I'm a Ravens fan. Wide receivers and injuries is my biggest concern. Mongo, you just got a really good running back. I don't know that I would have too many concerns. If I were a Ravens fan, my biggest concern would be Lamar Jackson and his inability to get it done in the postseason. Because you have a really good team. You have a really good running back now. So I like that. I like that text, and I think the Ravens are fascinating.
Texter says, sounds like Brad is scared of the SEC being better in baseball.
Shane says, buckle up, Brad. Jeez. What about the Falcons? Texter from the 915 Diesel
says, my concern is punishment for tampering, and what will that be unless it's resolved? And I have not heard about it. I assume, let's see, tampering with the Falcons.
Wire to wire.
Would you be talking about Kirk Cousins and getting him off the roster in Minnesota? What are you talking about? Help me out there with that texter, this allegation of tampering with the Falcons. Is that what he's talking about, Cole?
I would assume so. And again, I'll have to go back and read the text. But
says tampering, the Falcons is punishment for tampering, and what will that be?
Okay. We'll do a little digging. I think that's interesting.
I think if you're a Chiefs fan, you got no concerns other than maybe, Harrison Butker goes on a religious retreat and you never hear from him again.
There's no concerns if you're a Chiefs fan. Well, that's very clear. Dale wants to chime in, 844-FAN phone. Dale, what's your team and what's your biggest concern?
Hey, Cole, let's go Cowboys. You ready?
Yes.
My biggest concern is offensive line, quarterback, secondary, linebacker, ownership, in no particular order. Oh, running back as well.
Dale, listen, I mean, let's be very candid here. There are more than one issue. There is more than one issue, rather, and you're exactly right. Unfortunately, I hate to tell you, you are right. There are a lot of concerns. If you had to list them off, I think you did a pretty good job of it.
I'm well aware. CeeDee Lamb's our only bright spot, and CeeDee Lamb.
Dale, thanks for the call, man.
You
Appreciate
should be concerned that Jerry Jones will support Dak Prescott until the day he dies.
Or you should be
concerned. He will never move on from him.
Or you should be concerned that Jerry Jones will live much longer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
how old is Jerry Jones?
Too old.
First of all, he looks about 100 years old.
He is way too old. I'll tell you that. So
he looks worse than that 95 and 92-year-old couple that we saw a couple of weeks ago at Ingles Markets in Greer.
Dave, real quick. I don't know that we got
81.
81 years old.
He looks awful for 81.
Wanted to get the Dave's text. He is a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. Dave says, I trust Baker, but we have only one established running back who is white. Hopefully, not white like the color. White's their running back. Hopefully the rookie will step up and shine. That comes from Dave. Dave, we appreciate you texting in. A lot of good conversation there on the program about your favorite NFL team and what your biggest cause of concern is.
I think we're going to get a really good view of who Dave Canales is as a head coach. If he turned around Geno, he turned around Baker, both of them fell off immediately after he left, then, man, that should give Carolina Panthers a big reason to be hopeful about the hiring of Dave Canales.
A lot more coming in. Let's just keep it rolling. Let's keep it rolling in the very next segment, Diesel, and continue to get our Tolos, our listeners' thoughts on who their favorite team is and what's your biggest cause of concern. If you haven't done so yet, text in 71307. Start your text with the word fan, so we will see the message. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson, and this is the Fan Upstate.
If you're a Carolina Panthers fan, you got an awful lot to be nervous about going into this season.
Dang, Diesel.
Or you may be so calloused to how garbage you were last year that anything is an improvement, so long as they don't win just one game. God, would that be a smack in the face to go through all the things that you went through last year, all the embarrassments from the ownership, and then to lose more games this year than you lost last year. a lot can concern you if you're a Carolina Panthers fan. Offensive line, moving players to center who have never played center in an actual NFL game. Still not knowing who your wide receiver one is going to be. Bryce Young still being 5'11", 165
pounds. Oh my
pounds.
gosh, you went there.
Not having a strong linebacking core or edge rusher. A lot to be worried about.
You know what's interesting?
I love the fact, Cole, that we've had We've not had 2 listeners call in or text in who are a fan of the same team. We've had Colts fans, Packers fans, Ravens fans, Panthers fans, Cowboys fans all over the place. That's what I love about the NFL.
And that's exactly what I was about to say is so interesting is we've had more texters and more Tolos chime in that aren't Carolina Panthers fans. I mean, I thought that we lived in Carolina Panthers country. Are we not surrounded by Panthers fans? Because as you said, Diesel, it definitely has been more Steelers and Colts and everybody. Cowboys are being represented well, right?
And hey, even Julian Council said, really? You guys still talk Carolina Panthers down there? I wouldn't think that the upstate is real concerned with the Panthers.
I mean, come on. What's with the trolling?
We bring you on to talk Panthers, and he says, like, why?
I like this text from the 262. Texter says, I'm a Packers fan. Concerns. I'm concerned for the Lions, Bears, and Vikings will be the top of the NFC North. That's what I like.
Calling a shot.
Yes. That's what I like.
Shot. You should say, man. Texter, I'm concerned that there's not enough body bags in the city of Chicago to deal with the slaughter that we're gonna put on the Bears.
Texter says Cousins is his biggest concern. Another texter says, my team is the Steelers. My concern is Mike Tomlin, 16 years, no losing seasons. Some say consistent. I say mediocre. How about that text from the 724? That's strong.
Are Mike Tomlin and Dak Prescott related?
No. Don't go there. Don't try to be little Mike Tomlin like that. Come on. How about Shane Barrett wanting to weigh in? Shane on the renewal by Anderson of the Carolinas fan phone. Shane, what's up, man?
Cole, pardon my French here, but I'm so tired of this shit with Baker Mayfield and people talking trash about him.
Shane. All right, we gotta drop the call, man. You can't be dropping 4-letter words on the air, my friend. Consider this a learning moment, Shane. You can't say stuff like that over the radio, or we will drop the call.
Try again.
Not
Shane.
today. You got to try again next week because we don't let you back on the air.
Diesel said you got punished.
Yeah, no, that's true, man. You're on timeout.
You're on. You've gotten banned temporarily. Wow. Look at Diesel just dropping the hammer here. Sorry about that, Shane.
Yeah, it's the truth, man. We can't be having that kind of language over the air. But good news is Cole's got his workout for the day. He's turned around and he's hit that dump button. He's nice and loose and limber.
Nice and loose, as I always am. Again, Shane, you get in on the stream. We had to dump you because of the curse, but I don't know. Let me know on the stream what you were so upset about. Was it the Jacksonville Jaguars? I know you're a big Jacksonville Jaguars fan. Sound off on the stream. And let us know there. Sorry about that. We had to dump you, though. All right, back to the text line. Let's see. Texter says, this comes from Spartanburg J. I'm not an NFL fan. Spartanburg J, not an NFL guy. He says, I'm a Clemson fan, and he lists his Clemson concerns. I'll read them. Concerns are the O-line, secondary, wide receiver health, and O-line. Well, you said O-line twice, Spartanburg J, so you're very concerned about the O-line. I mean, listen, it's not NFL, but I'll still count it, okay? I'll still count it. If you want to go Clemson, we can do that as well. Dewey wants to chime in. Dewey, what's your team and or who's your team and what's your biggest concern?
My concern is that y'all keep on picking on Shane Beamer. He is the man for South Carolina. They're going to go 12-0, and the quarterback's going to win the Heisman.
And what? And
Dabo. Y'all pick on Dabo too much.
Okay.
The Carolina and Clemson in the national championship game this year.
We will start picking on Dabo more and Shane less, if that's your wish, Dewey. How about that?
Dewey, I'm concerned that you are under-medicated and you're not making your therapy appointments the way that you're supposed to, friend.
Mongo says, help me out with this, Diesel. Jerry Jones looks like Pastor Kane from, is this a movie I have not seen?
Poltergeist 2?
Poltergeist 2. See, Mongo, I'm not as up-to-date on movies as Diesel is, so I apologize.
Oh, wow.
Does he?
Oh, wow.
Have you seen this movie?
I have not seen Poltergeist 2. This is what he's saying of Jerry Jones.
I see a little bit of resemblance. I do see some resemblance.
Yeah. Okay. Not far off.
Good segment, though, or good segments, I should say. Love hearing from our Tolos and hearing who you pull for, because as we said, Diesel said it, I said it, there's not a ton of Panthers interaction on this very segment. We're getting reaction from every other team, and you can continue to send your thoughts in on the text line or on the stream. Shane, if you want to get back in on the stream, do so. Let me know what you were so upset about. You've got me intrigued, Shane, okay? You called in. You were madder than a hornet, and we had to dump you. But I need to know on the stream, what were you so mad about? Because I'm ready to know. I think it was something I said.
I'm fully aware that Shane probably had something really great to say.
He did.
I think he had something really hot to say. But sorry, man, we can't let you on the
I
air.
dumped you. I dumped you. We could not let that the beep on the air.
So show rule, you curse on the air, you're banned for the rest of the day. You're back in tomorrow, Shane. You can call us back tomorrow. How about that?
We're making up show rules all of a sudden.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I get it.
I'm imagining what our boss would say. He's like, you can't let that guy back on the air immediately.
So he said, I deserved it. I'm sorry. 1 second. Get it up, Shane. Let us know. Spartanburg J says, I think I forgot to say my biggest concern for Clemson is the O-line. No, Spartanburg J, you said that twice already. Great show. We appreciate you listening. Diesel, this audio is fascinating. I have 2 pieces of audio in the very next segment. One of Scotty Scheffler and a police officer, and some more audio from Scotty Scheffler's attorney, which is the best audio you will hear today. Stick around. Don't go anywhere. Turn it on and leave it on. Well, Scotty Scheffler, the entire situation, I believe, knock on wood, somebody knock on wood for me if you're at home or at work, I believe we're now able to put a bow on this situation. His attorney issued a fiery response to the charges being dropped against Scotty Scheffler. You would think now that they're dropped, he'd be happy daisy. He's not. Charges, in case you don't know, in case you haven't heard, the charges were dropped. Diesel, we talked about it yesterday, but this audio, 2 pieces of audio from the attorney and Scheffler are quite fascinating. Do you think, before I get to this attorney audio, I'll ask you the question. It seems like this thing is at a wrap. Yeah. Seems like we can put a bow on it. We shouldn't hear anymore, should we?
We shouldn't. I mean, have you ever heard that saying, stop when you get the answer you want to hear?
Yes,
people will very often talk their way out of the answer that they wanted by trying to get more, by trying to prove their point even harder. I mean, that's the only thing that could happen here is if Scotty Scheffler's attorney doesn't shut his mouth. Well, at this point, like, you've gotten what you wanted. You got the verdict that you wanted. Shut up now.
Well, him shutting up isn't happening anytime soon, it doesn't look like. Here is the attorney of Scotty Scheffler being interviewed today after, I guess, the final meeting they had. Let's see. This was actually yesterday. So here's Scotty Scheffler's attorney. This audio is fantastic.
Steve, I have to ask you, though, the statements that Scotty made after the arrest don't seem to fully align with what you're saying right now. He admits that he got impatient and went too far.
No, here's what happened, is he is being interrogated after the most stressful situation of his life, right? And the officer is actually asking him leading questions and trying to get him to agree with them, okay? And that's why you don't talk to the police, because they are going to try to put words in your mouth.
But
that's exactly what they did.
But that was after he read his Miranda rights. He didn't have to speak.
He didn't have to speak. But again, he asked to talk to the officer. He wanted to explain to him what happened. However, they are trying to get him to confess to something that he didn't do. And the video evidence shows he didn't do it.
That is absolutely fantastic.
How many Red Bulls did this attorney have before this press conference?
Really?
Dear God, you got the charges dropped.
He's mad.
Why don't you just come out and say, look, it was wrong was committed on both sides of this thing. Nobody wants to see this situation end in an ugly way. We're happy that we got a decision from the state of Kentucky to drop these charges against the best golfer in the world, and clearly just a nice guy. Thank you very much. Don't bring it up again.
Instead, when the reporter tried to ask the question, he was very adamant.
No. Here's what happened.
Here's
here's what happened.
He is upset, but let's break it down like this.
The most stressful situation of his life. Really more stressful than playing in the Masters? No? Okay.
I do want to let you decide, because I do have the audio that the cop is that the lawyer is referring to. The attorney there that you heard, he's referring to this audio. And Diesel, it is a bit lengthy, so you and I will stop it at any point we want to comment. Let's stop it and comment, because the attorney said he was asking leading questions, and I think there's a fair point to be made that maybe he was. You decide for yourself.
My tea time. Yeah. I had to loop all the way around. That way it took me about probably a half hour. Okay. So I'm pulling in here. The police officer up there told me to come the opposite way with the traffic and then come in. And as I was pulling in, my window was down, and the officer told me to stop. And first of all, I did not know that he was a police officer. I thought he was one of the security guards that was mistaken. And as I was pulling by him,
Stop right there. Why does it matter if he's a security guard or a police officer?
Because
if somebody's telling you to stop.
Yes, you're right. I should have stopped. I did get a little bit impatient because I'm quite late for my tea time.
So I want to stop it there, Diesel. The officer interrupts and says, why would it matter if it's a cop or a security guard? Fair or unfair point, in your opinion?
That's a fair question. I mean, It is somebody who is in a position of authority and who is attempting to handle a situation. I mean, I got to think that Scotty probably has a team, like a staff around him. Somebody probably woke up and said, hey, Scotty, there's a situation down by the course. Just so you know, it's going to be tough to get in. Right?
Yeah.
And, if I'm out at a public space and a security guard stops me, in my mind, that is tantamount the same thing to a police. That is law enforcement. That is rules enforcement for this particular venue.
And no, I do agree.
So Scotty should have stopped, whether it was a security guard or whether it was a cop.
And I think his biggest frustration to that point, Diesel, was the previous cop who instructed the car and him to go into that gate before this cop. Again, he was instructed to follow the other PGA Tour car and go into the gate. So I think if I'm just pretending like it was me, I would be frustrated. I would be upset. If I've already been told once, follow this car, go into that gate, and now I'm being stopped again after the first car already went to the gate. Sure. However, Diesel, I'm not trying to attack this cop or any cop. I do not like this. And this is Cole's opinion, okay? It doesn't reflect what Diesel thinks or what the radio station thinks. The you're wrong no matter what because I'm a cop attitude, in my opinion, is why so much anti-cop sentiment is prevalent these days.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think every police interaction should be released because I just don't like the attitude. And not every cop. We have cops here who are fantastic. I appreciate law enforcement. I have a lot of friends, Diesel, who are police officers. I just don't like the attitude. Scotty didn't have an attitude. Let's continue to hear the audio.
And as he was reaching in the car, he grabbed my shoulder and hit me. Like
trying to get you to stop, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It seemed to
Leading
be a
question.
little bit over aggressive because the entrance was open.
Okay.
And I pulled a little bit because I was afraid. I thought he was going to start hitting me, and I didn't know who he was. He didn't tell me he was a police officer. All I saw was the yellow jacket. I didn't know what he was doing. I listened to another police officer.
So the thing is, he's wearing a uniform. Okay. He also is wearing the same jacket that I have on that says police.
Yes.
Okay. Also on that, if someone's telling you to stop, no matter who it is, you don't keep going. So what happened is you kept going and you took him with you while he's a pedestrian. Okay.
Yes.
So you took him with your car.
Yes.
And drug him, okay?
Yeah.
Which is not a good thing,
I'm
right?
very aware that was
to make it, so listen to me, so make it even worse, when he asked you to get out of the car, you refused to get out of the car.
I still was not aware he was a police officer. I was actually looking out the window of the car to try to find a police officer. I asked.
We're all right here, and he was there.
Believe me, sir. If I knew
we're all wearing yellow vests so you can see us.
If he knew he was a police officer, I would have been.
So stop it right here. Scotty Scheffler, I have no idea what his intelligence level is. I assume he's a smart guy. He's a good athlete, right? There's nothing that says just because you're a great athlete that makes you a smart, intelligent individual.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily sure that I'm buying Scotty Scheffler saying I wasn't sure at the time that he was a police officer. Like, come on, dude. I think he's trying to charm his way out of this situation. Like, if I see somebody early in the morning around an entrance to a venue, a closed venue like that course was, and I see somebody in a long yellow rain jacket, I think it's a fairly safe assumption to say that person is in a position of authority.
Sure.
So this whole idea of I was looking around for a cop because I didn't know if this guy was a cop. I mean, like, have we had a situation, Cole, where somebody pretends to be a police officer to drag a golfer out of their vehicle? It's never happened. Like, it sounds like a scenario to a bad movie. I'm just not necessarily buying the naivete on Scotty's part here.
So a ton of response coming in on the text line. Texter says, did you see, this comes from the 618, did you see the stupid Detective Gillis response to the lawyer? Yes, we'll get to that. Texter from the 897. What he was making a point was that if that happened to anybody else, we could be screwed. Another texter says the cop in that video is a douchebag. Texter from the 618, you absolutely do not have to stop for a security guy in a fluorescent vest. Texter, this happened.
Based on what? Based on
well,
what?
I think that's a good question, right?
Is that
Let's
based
park
on
that.
your opinion? What is that based off of?
It's a good question that you bring up, Diesel. I mean, you would assume that that person's in a position of authority. You would assume. I would. At 5:30 in the morning, pouring down rain, I don't think there'd be a ton of people walking around in yellow fluorescent vests. I mean, yeah, I would think it'd be some kind of position, somebody.
I mean, if you think it's somebody's goal to kidnap you or steal your car while you're on the road, they're not going to do it in a bright yellow fluorescent jacket that matches what other people in bright yellow fluorescent jackets are wearing around them.
Texter says, of all the witnesses said they did not see the detective getting dragged. And again, I agree with you on that. We talked about that last week. There was video. Nobody really saw the detective getting dragged or drugged. Texter, all the security people at the golf course wore those same style vests. He did not know there was an accident. That's why he didn't think there was a cop. I do safety and security, and this is no lost thing. Have to stop for somebody with a fluorescent vest who was on security. I get it. Listen, we weren't there. It's easy for us to speculate. But to my point, to Diesel's point, when you do see someone with a yellow vest, you probably should stop. Was Scotty in the wrong? I don't think he was. However, Diesel, I'll tell you this. I think if he would have stopped and maybe explained that the previous officer or yellow vest guy told him to go, I don't know that we'd be talking about this today. Do you?
Yeah, no, and I think you're absolutely right about that. I think the real point of contention, Cole, isn't necessarily that he didn't stop. It's this narrative from the police officer, this report from the police officer that he dragged him for a number of feet and that he injured himself. I mean, if it was just that he didn't stop and he moved his vehicle ahead, 25 feet, we wouldn't be talking about this. It'd be like, hey, I told you to stop. Oh man, my bad. I didn't know what was going on. This guy back here. It was the fact that at least the report from the officer stated that he was dragged across the ground.
I don't know that I agree with what the officer said and you stop for anybody. Like if it's a person identifying themselves that they're law enforcement, yes, you stop, right? I'm not saying disobey people. Here's what I do want to ask, though, Diesel. Do you think, obviously this was Scotty's first time ever having a run-in with the law. Do you think Scotty regrets talking to that cop and not staying silent like you're supposed to do?
I mean, after the fact, yeah. I mean, it seems to me like in this situation, he's thinking he can charm his way out of the situation, explain his way out. Oh, my bad. I didn't mean it. It wasn't, I didn't intend to do that. Can you just let me go? Like that. I think that's what Scotty Scheffler probably expected would happen there. He's also the world's number one golfer, right? He's also expecting, like, I'm at a golf tournament. People here are going to know who I am. People here most of the time just let him walk right through because they recognize him and they know who he is. Maybe he ran into stiffer security at this event than he has in the past, and he just reacted poorly to it.
A lot of texts coming in. Texter says, based on my experience, big difference in security officers and actual police, and they are to be treated differently. I don't care what color his jacket is or what color his vest is, says Spartanburg J.
So here's a statement, Cole, from Officer Gillis, the arresting officer. He's released his statement after Scheffler avoided his criminal charges. He did praise Scotty Scheffler for agreeing to move on from the incident, but here's the quote. This was a chaotic situation for everyone involved. Ensuring the safety of everyone in the vicinity was my utmost priority. Mr. Scheffler and I both agree that there will be no ill will over this going forward. So he's saying he's agreed to not sue me. Instead of giving a negative public reaction, he chose to speak with dignity, humility, and respect. My family and I appreciate that. It was unfortunate and disturbing to hear Steve Romine's commentary today, that's the attorney, claiming that a false arrest was made, and for him to challenge my honesty and integrity. I'd be surprised and disappointed if Mr. Scheffler actually had any part in making those statements. To be clear, I was drugged by the car. I went to the ground and I received visible injuries to my knees and wrist. I'm going to recover from it and it will be okay. This is the extent of my commentary on the incident.
Thank God he's going to recover. Not making light of it, but we were really worried about his scraped up knee. No, I'm not. I'm kidding. Listen, I think this is a sticky situation, right? It's a sticky situation. If they could go back and do it, Diesel, I bet both parties involved would probably do it different.
You can never get a great sense of who people are in press conferences, right? Yeah. I mean, we don't know if this particular officer, who, by the way, is in his early 60s, we don't know if this particular officer, when the camera's not on him, when he's not making a legal statement here, he may not be a rough, gruff, in-your-face, trash-talking kind of dude. We don't know. I mean, we just don't know.
So I want to ask a question real quick to the 590 texter. I see your text, and I'm asking the question. And for those listening, I'll read the text. Texter says, Diesel has no clue what he's talking about. I've been a simple parking attendant at events in a bright yellow jacket. You can't assume that's police ever. I'd say 95% of police need the dub and have that mentality. Okay, that was a different text. Texter, to your point, you can't assume that's police ever. What difference does it make? Shouldn't you stop? I'm just asking. I'm playing devil's advocate. Shouldn't you stop if somebody's in a yellow suit?
So if you're a parking attendant and I'm pulling into a parking lot and you're directing me to go to a certain place, to a certain location to park, and I just say, screw that, I'm going to go park where I want.
That's right.
I mean, like, I'm not saying that those parking attendants have the authority to chase me down and arrest me.
Well, you should still stop.
But it's his job to direct me where to go.
Correct.
And he is parking attendant, or in this case, what Scotty Scheffler claims that he thought he was just regular security for the event. It is your job to follow the security's instructions and go where they point you to go. What if they're stopping you and saying this entrance is closed? You can't go in this way because something happened in there. There was a gas leak or something. Scotty Scheffler can just say, well, screw you. You're not clearly a police officer. So I don't have to stop. I could just go right on through because I'm Scotty Scheffler.
And texter from the 590, I'm not attacking you. I'm just asking the question. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. If the guy's out there in a yellow suit, normally that means they are in a position of, I'm not saying power, but they're being directed by their boss to direct you on where to go. And to the 978 point who just texted in, I get it. He was going off of what he was told by somebody else in a yellow jacket, and that's where there is confusion, right? He was told the previous yellow jacket told him to go in, the next one told him to stop. So maybe the officers weren't on the same page, and you have a fair point there. You really do. It's a sticky situation. I'm glad the charges were dropped.
Yeah,
I really am.
It's just best for everybody to drop this and move on.
Yep.
I'm sure whatever municipality this is doesn't want any more of this negative press surrounding this. They just want to get past it. When we come back, Cole, we had a fantastic conversation earlier with Julian Council, the host of the Locked On Panthers podcast. I had a wide-ranging conversation with him leading up to the beginning of the season, training camp on the way. They're doing OTAs that are not mandatory. We had a great conversation with him and especially got a great injury report on Xavier Legette as he has had some time away from practice. That's coming up next here on the Fan Upstate.
Jonathan Brooks or Xavier Legette?
I would bet on Jonathan Brooks having the better season. The one thing that Canales has been pretty consistent about and pretty transparent is that they want to run the football. He talked about it yesterday during his availability. This is a team that's going to run the ball, that it's going to be able to help guys like Ike Ekwonu, who really struggled in pass protection, because that's what he's better at, is running the ball, run blocking. That's what they want to do. So Chuba Hubbard, he's going to be a guy who starts off, I think, as running back one until Brooks is coming off that ACL tear at Texas, until he's ready to go. By all reports, he should be good by July 1 training camp. He won't have to report until July 19th. First practice will be on the 24th. There's a little news there for you folks. So he should be good to go, you would think, at some point to be the guy. I would say it's going to take him some time to take over as the top running back. And it'll still be kind of a by committee approach with him and Hubbard as the top two guys. But I'm expecting the amount of times they want to run the football, with still questions of whether they have the right quarterback and if they can really protect on the outside. As far as with Ike Ekwonu, I think they're going to be more of a run-first team than a team that's going to be pass-first, which they were last year. And then with Xavier Legette, was awesome at South Carolina. I love the potential there. I would not expect him to have the kind of season he had last year at South Carolina, of course, as a rookie. And he's not going to be the number one option. It's going to be Deontay Johnson, who they traded for, and it's going to be Adam Thielen. He'll be the number 3 guy, and the hope is that he shows potential that he can grow into that number 1 role, maybe the number 2 role as they continue to fill out that wide receiver position down the road. But I'm expecting Jonathan Brooks in an offense that is going to be run first, which, remember what Seattle did. I understand Canales is an offensive guy, but Pete Carroll spent a long time there with them. Pete Carroll, defensive coach. They ran the ball behind guys like Marshawn Lynch, and that's what helped them get to the Super Bowl with an outstanding defense. I'm expecting Brooks to have a better rookie season.
Xavier's been limited in practice, Julian, with a hamstring issue officially reported as tightness. Yeah. What can you tell us about that?
I think it's one of the things where they're just trying to slow it down a little bit. It's early, and Dave brought this up yesterday, where you got a lot of young guys, and it's not just him, but a lot of young guys that are coming in and getting used to the speed and the pace of practices in the NFL. And when they saw him kind of slow down, they brought the trainers over and gave him a day yesterday. They'll be out there again tomorrow for their 6th OTA practice. It'll be interesting to see whether he's available then, but it's smart. It's May. It's almost June. There's no point to go out there and overexert a player who you're really going to be depending upon. But the hope is that he can do the right treatment and keep his body in the right shape. So when he has that layoff in between mandatory minicamp and training camp, that's just something that doesn't pop up again once we get to August.
Julian, I want to go back to the answer that you gave on the question that I asked about Legette or Brooks. You said that Legette is going to be, for now, the number 3 guy. I want to push back a little bit on that in terms of, would the Carolina Panthers spend a first-round draft pick to draft the number 3 receiver?
Possibly, when they first come to the league. Now, every situation is different, of course.
Yeah.
This situation here, there is going to be an opportunity for him to come in and to potentially be that number 2 option. I'm just going off of the proven commodities based off a guy who we also have no idea whether he will end up playing at a high level in the NFL. Like, I understand he had injuries, terrible quarterback play, different head coaches, death in the family, all of that played into a role potentially of him not doing anything at South Carolina until that bowl game against Notre Dame, then having a breakout season last year. There's just not enough of a sample size for me to sit here and believe that he's going to step into the league and he's going to make big-time plays. But I have seen Deontay Johnson be a Pro Bowler, and I have heard Dave Canales talk about he is going to be our X, he is going to be our first read, he's going to be our guy. And I just watched Adam Thielen at age 33 have 100 catches and 1,000 yards receiving. Yes, mainly by necessity. He's probably going to lose a step this year, but Thielen's a proven commodity who's once upon a time was a pretty damn good player in the NFL. I'm going to go with those guys being the first 2 options before I'm going to go for rookie who didn't do a damn thing until January, December 31st, I think, technically, of 2022. I'm going to kind of not have those expectations on Legette yet. But down the road, this is probably the last year for Thielen. Deontay Johnson's free agent after the season. Like, next year, you're hoping that Legette shows enough that he could be that guy. But I don't think that when he first steps out there for week 1, that he's going to be that number 1, number 2 option based off of who you have and what they've done. And just, there's still, I think, a pretty big unknown whether Legette can actually do that on a consistent basis, not just outside of college, not just in college, but in the NFL.
Host of the Locked On Panthers podcast, Julian Council, joins us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. The Germany trip, I understand you're going mid-November versus the Giants. Are you going to fly in, fly out? Are you spending some time? What's on the agenda? And do you have any advice on how maybe Cole and I could convince Odyssey to foot the bill to send us over there as well?
Well, top advice is start selling right now. Figure out a deal with a hotel and be able to get that figured out. Figure out a deal with an airline. I recommend Lufthansa and figure out a way to get over there for free. But yeah, I'm getting in. I'm leaving Monday the 4th. Game's on the 10th. I'm leaving Monday the 4th to get there on Tuesday the 5th in the morning. And then I'll be there all the way until that next Monday when I fly back. So I'm doing a full week there. And beer, that's what's on the itinerary. Going to be doing, I heard there's 6 breweries that are a part of Oktoberfest, and there may be more in the city, but there are 6 official breweries that are a part of Oktoberfest in Munich. So 6 days in Munich, 6 breweries a day, or just one a day. But either way, going to check out all the history that they got there in Center City. So excited. But yeah, I would tell Odyssey that, start selling some ads and figure out how you guys can get your German brethren to help you out there and figure out a way to get there for cheap, if that's possible. The flights honestly aren't that expensive if you fly to Charlotte.
Yeah, we better start selling today, Diesel and I, if that's the case. So you're exactly right on that. Hey, my last question for you, Julian. When you look at the 2024 season, obviously going back to my very first question, the NFL does give hope to fan bases. What are realistic expectations that you think Panthers fans should have going into training camp?
What if I told you that the Panthers could triple their win total?
Wow.
That would be that sounds great, right? But it's only 6 wins. But if you say they tripled their win total, that sounds awesome. If you say they win 6 games, doesn't sound that great. Now, it's, of course, a lot better than going 2-15. But if you say they triple their win total, you like to hear that. So I do think that's probably the ceiling for this team. Understand that your defense is not going to get better without Brian Burns. I get not paying him $30 million. But Brian Burns has more sacks in his career in 5 years than Jadeveon Clowney has in his 10 years playing in the NFL. And Clowney's an outstanding player when healthy, really good. But this is the first time he's ever been a priority free agent, and he was signed at the end of March. Like, the guy has never lived up to the billing of being the number 1 overall pick. Back when he came out, he's never been that guy that we saw down in Columbia. Doesn't mean he's not still a good player, but he was supposed to be Myles Garrett. He hasn't been Myles Garrett. So I have a hard time believing he's going to come in here and he's going to replicate what he did last season in Baltimore and be that guy that you can depend on, especially with the health that he's had, the issues throughout his career. Burns is the guy who's always out on the field. Like, you don't get better without Brian Burns. You don't get better without Frankie Louvu. Josie Jewell, he's a good linebacker, but he's not the kind of dynamic player that Louvu is. And in the secondary, J.C. Horn, they gave him the 5th-year option. I think he's a great player. The problem is he has missed 29 out of a possible 51 games. Something happens to him again. The depth at corner is terrible. Like, I just don't think it's going to be a good defense. But I do think a lot of the games that we watch are going to be a lot like the game against Green Bay last year, where they're able to move the football. Bryce looks competent. They're scoring touchdowns, but they can't stop anybody. Like, they were bad against the run last year, last in sacks, last in pressure percentage, awful in the red zone, awful when it came to giving up points. I just don't think they're going to get better when you don't have reliable guys at outside linebacker and in the secondary, and then you lose to your key cogs of Burns and Louvu. So scoring points should be able to help them at least have a chance to win those games, but I still think there's going to be a long way to go. But I do think 6 is a possibility because of the offense having a step forward, but defensively it's going to leave a lot to be desired once we head into the offseason.
Julian, one of our Tolo listeners, Madcraft, says this guy has a lot to say considering it's the Panthers. He's good. Yeah, Madcraft, follow him on Twitter, at Julian Council. Last one here for me, pal. Given this franchise's really atrocious cap situation, who do you see who is in make it or break it mode right now, has to have a major bounce back season, or maybe shipped out or sold off to make some additional cap space?
Good question. I don't know. I don't know. As far as the roster, I think they're kind of good with what they want to do. Maybe they want to add another corner like Stephon Gilmore. Make a lot of sense. He's hanging out here locally. I don't know if there's anybody that they would want to ship out to open up cap space right now. But like, as far as like make or break kind of years, oh man, that's a tough one. Like, Ike Ekwonu's a guy where if he doesn't play well again this year, maybe they look at getting another tackle potentially, whether it be free agency or in the draft, like Terrace Marshall. He's a guy who's entering his 4th year. He showed some promise there at the tail end of that season when Steve Wilkes was the interim, and there's still questions about what his role is going to be and his future. So that's definitely make or break for him. But yeah, cap-wise, I don't think there's anybody that they're really going to cut now that's going to help them open up any space. Like they could extend Taylor Moton, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm seeing things right now. So we'll see how things play out this year.
He is Julian Council at Julian Council on Twitter, the Locked On Panthers podcast host. You're the best, man. Thank you so much for the time.
Appreciate it. Wrapping up Wire to Wire as we do every single day. It's been an incredible show. A ton of interaction today. We appreciate you on the text line, the stream. We're live every day on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Also, the phone lines today, Diesel, have been fantastic.
Fantastic phone lines.
Let's keep it up. Let's carry that momentum into tomorrow.
Call us tomorrow. Just don't say curse words.
Yeah. Shane did clarify, though, and he was talking about Baker Mayfield very passionately.
Hey, I would say curse words about Baker Mayfield, too. I'd say curse words about the Carolina Panthers if I could, but get thrown off the air for that.
But we appreciate the attempt there,
I
Shane.
like being employed.
Yeah, we appreciate the attempt. All right, I asked a question, Diesel, real quick before we hit a break. Well, the break is the end of the show.
The last break.
Yeah. I asked a question. Mavs Timberwolves is now 3-1. Dallas leads. Will we ever see a team come back from down 3-0? We've never seen it before. Diesel, Minnesota seems like the team that could do it because they're so talented. History tells us, though, that if you go down 3-0, you're not coming back.
I mean, it's got to happen eventually, right? I mean, even the 40-year-old virgin got laid. Took him till 40 years old to get there, but it happened. I mean, eventually, yeah, it will happen, but I don't think it's going to happen this time. I don't think it'll happen this time either. I think Luka and Kyrie are too good. However, I do think it's going to happen. I really do. All streaks come to an end. Like, the talent in the NBA just continues to get better and better. Athletes have more tools and more money at their disposal. And the play that we're scoring more points than we've ever scored. So I don't want to say it can't happen because, like you said, I do believe that anything can happen. However, it's going to take something, in my opinion, catastrophic, like an injury, right? I think I could see it happening. If you told me Luka Doncic, Diesel, was hurt and done for the series, well, guess what? I'd say, yeah, you know what? There's a really good chance that thing happens. However, with Luka on the floor, they've already won one. They have to win 3 more games to win the series in a row, and that's not happening. Yeah, I think one of the best things we're going to see coming out of this particular series, Cole, is just Anthony Edwards making himself really known.
Yeah, as the guy.
On an NBA scale. He's listed as a guard in some places. He's listed as a small forward in other places. The dude is an absolute baller. 26 points a game this year. Yep. He gets a couple of rebounds every game as well. I think this is his coming out party. And if he can get them a victory tonight, I mean, that cements his superstardom going into next year.
Hey, real quick, before you send us out, Diesel, tomorrow it's going to be a great show. I will warn you, it's going to be a ton of score watching. We're going to have reaction, instant reaction.
Yeah.
We're going to keep you up to date. A ton of college baseball. I cannot wait.
Yeah, a lot of games have their first pitch at noon, so we'll be getting some of those games concluding as we're just coming on the air. We're going to have first pitches going out at 1 o'clock, so we're going to be middle innings in some of those games. I can't wait. Clemson plays tomorrow. It's going to be a blast. Guys, we'll be here with you tomorrow, keeping you up to date right here on Wire to Wire. He's Cole Bryson. My name is Diesel. Thanks for being a Tolo. We'll catch you tomorrow.